Prime Minister David Cameron prepared to travel to Washington, D.C. for the National Security Summit, which began on Thursday. It was not revealed, though, exactly when the drill will be performed, but the exercise's purpose is to test security preparedness and to assess the vulnerability of nuclear power plants to such an attack. One source said it gives us the ability to test these systems and to make sure that we learn any lessons. The Guardian newspaper reported Thursday that the cyber attack will be similar, according to sources, to a hacking drill performed last year against major banking systems. Cameron is expected to announce the joint test after he arrives at the two-day summit, which concludes on Friday. President Barack Obama met with the Japanese Prime Minister and South Korean President on Thursday, the first day of the summit, to discuss nuclear security and potential threats posed by North Korea.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
Reuters reports a federal judge on Thursday struck down Mississippi's ban on adoption by same-sex couples, saying it violated the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution, according to court records. The decision by U.S. District Judge Daniel Jordan came in response to a lawsuit filed in August 2015 on behalf of 4 legally married same-sex couples, 2 of whom are already raising children, as well as the Campaign for Southern Equality and the Family Equality Council. The plaintiffs argued that the ban discriminated against legally married couples. The Mississippi ban on adoption by same-sex couples was the only one of its kind in the United States. Same-sex marriage was legalized in the state in 2014. The lawsuit came just weeks after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down same-sex marriage bans as unconstitutional across the country. Roberta Kaplan, lead attorney in the case, said in a statement on Thursday, 2 sets of our clients have waited many years, almost 9 and 16, to become legal parents to the children they have loved and cared for since birth. We hope that it should finally be clear that discrimination against gay people simply because they are gay violates the Constitution in all 50 states, including Mississippi. The Mississippi Department of Human Services, which was named in the lawsuit, cannot be immediately reached for comment. In his decision, Judge Jordan referred to the opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court that struck down the bans on same-sex marriage. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A study finds that Americans need 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep at work in order to leave the office feeling refreshed and alert. Leading endocrinologists told reporters that more and more people are pulling all-dayers and drinking coffee just to keep themselves awake for meetings and conference calls, and that in order to be properly rested, employees should arrive at work, check their email for a few hours, and be sound asleep by 11:30 a.m. at the very latest.
In order for the body to properly function, adults need to make sure that they're well rested and they're not staying up too late at work.
The Lord our God, divine creator and ruler of the universe, announced Wednesday that he does not consider human beings his most impressive creation, saying instead that mountains are categorically superior in every way. Claiming that mankind was a good creation and worthy of praise, the deity explained that human beings simply pale in comparison to the slopes, valleys, and sheer magnitude of a snow-capped 20,000-foot mountain, and that while all humans eventually grow old and die, mountains last forever.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can join us here toll-free. We'll give you the numbers and the Skype username here in a matter of moments, and you can bring up anything that happens to be on your mind. Joining you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Ian,
James, and TJ the Spy.
And, of course, if you've been to our website, freetalklive.com, you know that it is a very interactive site. Unlike other talk shows in the business, you tell us what you think is important. See, the typical talk show way is the host is all important and he knows everything and he will tell you.
We are going to tell you what you must know.
Right. But it works differently here on Free Talk Live. Not only is it open phones every night, so you can call in and bring up anything you want, our website is also sort of an open format, meaning that it is a Reddit-based system of a sort of a voting nature, meaning that you submit content to the website if you want, or you can just look at it. and interact with it. You can submit content, though, if you find some sort of news story or some kind of entertaining video or whatever it is that you think our listeners will appreciate. You submit it there to freetalklive.com. Other listeners can then vote as to whether they like or dislike what it is that you've submitted, and you can vote on other people's submissions as well. So it allows you to sort of take control of the website in that way. Now, as I mentioned, it's a Reddit-based site, and Reddit is a social bookmarking, social voting site, and there are a bunch of these subreddits on Reddit. Free Talk Live is one of, I don't know, a zillion subreddits on Reddit. And so thank you to everybody who takes the time to submit fresh content pretty much on a daily basis over there to freetalklive.com. The top story right now, as submitted by Liberty Evolution, is that Reddit has removed their Warrant Canary.
Yes. Uh-oh.
And this is not good. Right? So, of course, it bears discussing what is a Warrant Canary.
Right.
Well, you want to take a crack at this,
do you want me
TJ
to say? Well, a warrant canary is an example of a way to circumvent or try to tap dance around the law. So normally when you receive a national security letter or a sealed warrant that says we want to access a user's data, there might be a gag order that says you're not allowed to tell the user or anybody that you have received this warrant. Well, a lot of sites have started putting up things that say, we as of today have not received any warrants from the federal government or any national security letters. And the moment they take that down, well, I'm not saying that I received it. I'm just saying I didn't receive it. And
we've removed the notice that says we have never received such a thing. So therefore, we're not actively saying that we've received the thing. And this national security letter you're talking about is basically a threat from the federal government saying you need to hand over this particular data or all of this data or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's more than that. So a typical search warrant or subpoena, you can notify the person saying the government, it's a third-party doctrine, so once you turn data over to a third party, if you tell the third party receives, say you're a phone company, they receive a warrant for your information, the company can tell you, hey, the FBI has requested your phone logs. You can then intervene and file a motion in court saying, Your Honor, I don't think this is appropriate. But if there's a gag order attached to the warrant, it says you're not even allowed to tell the target of the investigation that he's under investigation. That's where the problem comes in.
You can't even talk to your attorney, basically, about it.
That was one of the things that actually occurred in the LavaBit case. So the guy who ran LavaBit with Edward Snowden, he got a warrant for Edward Snowden's thing, and they said, we're not allowed to tell who. We're not even allowed to say that we got this thing. And that was the thing it's called, I'll remember the doctrine. Prior restraint, that's the doctrine. So the doctrine of prior restraint. So normally preventing somebody from saying something before they even say it, that's a very dangerous thing. When the government says you're not even allowed to say something, that is a very, very thing. The courts don't take that very lightly. They will make sure there has to be a very specific reason, such as an ongoing criminal investigation. It has to be targeted to a specific individual. And national security letters typically have prior restraint attached to them, where if you receive a national security letter as a standard thing, it'll say you are not allowed to tell anybody, including your attorney, that you have received this letter. So the question is, if you can't tell your attorney, how do you challenge the warrant, the legality of the warrant in court, if you're not even allowed to tell your legal counsel that you received it? And so that was a lot of these websites, a lot of computer scientists, we try and be cute. And I can guarantee you what's going to happen. The court is going to see this. If Reddit received a search warrant or a subpoena or a national security letter and they then remove this warrant canary, a judge is going to get very mad and hold them in contempt of court because a lot of people, you can't tap dance around the law. There might be.
You're saying you think that the whole warrant canary thing is not going to hold water?
No. If a judge said, oh, you had this thing up that said you didn't receive a national security letter, you received a national security letter, and then you took that down, that is, for all intents and purposes, telling people you received a national security letter, and so you violated the rule. You didn't have to take down this warrant canary. And so if I were the legal counsel for Reddit, I would say, well, if you received a national security letter, if you care about your freedom, don't take it down. I'm not saying that's what I would do personally. I'm just saying if I was a lawyer, that's what I would be advising them to do.
Well, it's interesting. We looked at one of these letters, I think it was a few months back. There was somebody who managed to get his released, get the permission from the court to finally release this national security letter. And I don't remember the exact way it was phrased, but the wording of the actual national security letter referred to some sort of U.S. code, and then when you actually looked at the code, it really didn't seem like like, obviously laws and statutes and codes and things like that are open to interpretation. And I'll see if I can pull it up again because it was fascinating, because it really didn't seem like they were prohibiting you from revealing it. The wording made it sound like it's sort of like when the cops say, I'm going to have to ask you to show your ID or whatever, or I'm going to have to ask you to do something. The cop's not actually telling you to do something. The cop is asking you to do something, but he's asking you in a way that sounds like you have to do what he's saying because of the wording that he uses. The cop says, I'm going to have to ask you to. Well, that's not you have to do what I'm saying. Yeah. That's I have to ask you. It is my job to ask you to do this. Now, again, I'm being very vague here because I don't actually have the copy of that national security letter pulled up, but I'll see if I can find that because it was fascinating. The way you could have interpreted this was that this was just a request, that it wasn't actually a legitimate order to not reveal this, and that people are just simply so afraid of the federal government, and for good reason, because they do put peaceful people in prison cells. They're just so afraid of the federal government that they do what the letter suggests.
Yes.
That it doesn't actually order.
Yeah, I wonder if there's ever been anyone that's challenged it. It says, I guess, on Wikipedia that under the Patriot Act, there are criminal penalties for disclosing the existence of the warrant.
Yeah. 18 U.S.C. Section 2709 is the National Security Letter code. So that's just if those of you who are legal nerds out there had that out there. But Bruce Schneier, one of the security experts, he said, I have long discounted warrant canaries. A gag order is serious, and this sort of high school trick won't fool a judge for a minute. But so far, they seem to be working. I said, well, yeah, exactly.
But how many people who've had a warrant canary up on their website who have taken it down? I mean, how many times has this happened? The warrant canary.
This is the first warrant canary I've ever heard dying.
Exactly.
So I've never heard of a warrant canary dying before, and so it seems to be a big deal. But of course, then the question, and Bruce Schneier again made this point. Now what do we do? Okay, we don't know who the target investigation. We don't know whether it was just taken down. Maybe they took it down because they just didn't want to have it up anymore.
That could be.
Maybe they just didn't like the site. But I know one of our sponsors, ProXPN, they have a warrant canary, and as of April 1st this morning when I checked, it is still alive and kicking. So ProXPN has not received a warrant, national security letter or a warrant yet.
Now, of course, this is April 1st as we're doing this particular show, so
that's right. Yeah,
do keep in mind that anything is questionable today. I would hope no one would joke about the warrant canary here, but it is obviously a remote possibility. And, of course, if you do want to share with us your favorite April Fool's pranks.
Oh, that would not be a nice... If
pranks.
They actually pulled a warrant canary April Fool's Day joke, then, of course, we would all look like idiots, wouldn't we?
So
I totally forgot that it was April Fool's Day.
The story here is coming from computerworld.com. I haven't seen really many of these April Fool's pranks because I have been busy building and working on computers today. But I'm sure if you've been on the web for more than an hour, you've probably come across some of these things. Some of them are pretty creative. Every year. Anyway, the removal of the warrant canary from computerworld.com here reporting is a reminder to users their online communications could be the target of investigators. Well, duh. I mean, look, if you're communicating on Reddit, you could very well be the target of investigations. There's not really much security when it comes to Reddit in the first place. Most of their forums are open, and
it's just like Facebook or any other third party, Careful what you say online.
We'll tell you more about the national security letter and what happened with Reddit. You can share your thoughts at 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you suffering with hearing loss? Are you sick of people constantly complaining that your TV is too loud? Are you tired of asking people to speak up? Would you like to hear more clearly, but you don't want to wear a hearing aid that makes you look old? Then you need to try Listen Clear, a life-changing breakthrough precisely designed by top audio engineers to fit your ear almost invisibly. And you can adjust Listen Clear to find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And right now you can try Listen Clear absolutely risk-free with free shipping. We'll even give you free batteries for life. So call now, 1-800-719-9349. Listen Clear is lightweight and completely hassle-free, and it's practically invisible. Call for your 100% risk-free home trial with free shipping and free batteries for life. For free information, call now. 1-800-719-9349. That's 1-800-719-9349. 1-800-719-9349.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for life, too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422.
Ted Anderson telling you about Jordan Rubin's Beyond Organic Green-Fed Raw Cheddar Artesian Cheese featuring whole milk created through ancient dairy breeding, unpasteurized, untreated whole milk on the same farm the cows graze, containing natural sources of omega-3s, CLA protein, calcium, probiotics, and enzymes. I have never tasted cheese this good, and you need to try it. Contact your Youngevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is down $20 at $1,214 per ounce. Silver is down 50 cents at $15 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $416 US. Both silver and gold are significantly lower today. This would be a great time to buy on the dips. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Join us here. Our toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. We've also got Skype. You can Skype into the show at username LRN.FM. Joining you in studio, it's Ian,
James,
and TJ the Spy.
Also want to let you know, if you're not protecting yourself online, you ought to check out ProXPN. They are a virtual private network, and they encrypt your data from your computer or mobile device. Now, maybe you already have a VPN that's not ProXPN. Well, you might want to ask yourself and ask your current VPN, do they keep any logs of your activities? Because ProXPN does not. And, in fact, they've got servers all around the globe that you can connect to. They're a Netherlands-based company, not based in the U.S., so that's important. If you're a Windows user, you can also ask ProXPN about changing your DNS settings for even greater anonymity. They're using OpenVPN over at ProXPN, which is the gold standard of network encryption, and they've got apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and there's even Linux support as well. So whatever your device, ProXPN likely has software that'll work for you. They take credit card and even Bitcoin. Plus, if you use code FTL50, you can get 50% off of the regular monthly price for the lifetime of an annual account. It can be cheaper per month than a good cup of coffee. So drop on by proxpn.com, learn more, and use code FTL50 to take back the privacy that is your right. Top story over at freetalklive.com right now, as submitted by listeners like you. In this case, someone named Liberty Evolution submitted the news that Reddit has removed their Warrant Canary from their transparency report for 2015, which, according to ComputerWorld.com, suggests that Reddit may have received a secret national security letter in order to turn over user data to the federal government. The most controversial of the orders is the National Security Letter, which gives the government the authority to compel the production of customer records held by telephone companies, internet service providers, and other electronic communications service providers. Companies who've been asked for user data by the government are usually served the requests under a gag order that prohibits them from disclosing the request for data. These companies can't say they've received the national security letter requests when they do, but they do inform users when they don't get such orders through the Warrant Canary device. Akin to the bird in the coal mine, the Warrant Canary also dies if there's trouble in the form of a secret order for user information. The removal of the Warrant Canary notice could hence suggest that Reddit is trying to communicate to its users that it has received a secret security order for user data sometime after January 29th of 2015. In their 2014 transparency report, the online message board had included the Canary when it wrote that, quote, as of January 29, 2015, Reddit has never received a national security letter, an order from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or any other classified request for user information. So they wrote that in their 2014 transparency report, but the same statement did not appear in the 2015 transparency report. So suggesting that they have indeed received such
Keep in mind,
request.
it is April Fool's, so they could just be doing this as an elaborate April Fool's Day joke, which would be kind of a, well, I don't know how to feel about that one. I don't like that. Not that I'm a terrorist going on Reddit bragging about my terrorist plans, you know.
I guess one of the ways you could check this would be to find their 2015 transparency report and actually see for yourself. But going on, Reddit and other tech companies have in the past demanded they should be able to inform their users about national security letters. Twitter filed a suit in court in 2014 against the Department of Justice after the agency denied the company permission to publish a transparency report in which Twitter wanted to provide aggregate numbers of national security processes in similar or in rather smaller bands than those permitted by the government. Reddit also joined a friend of the court brief in support of Twitter. So they wanted to simply reveal sort of a round number of, we've received this many requests from the federal government. And I believe they had some success with that suit, but I don't recall what the exact details were on that.
You know, the thing I love about the United States Code, besides being 100,000 pages, so if you actually order, you can go to the Office of Bureau of Engraving and Printing and actually get your own copy of the United States Code. It's 3 yards from floor to ceiling. It's 100,000 pages. But in there, right after Section 2709, which deals with national security letters, and by the way, I misspoke earlier, you can actually contact your attorney. If you're a company and you receive one of these national security letters, you can contact an attorney, or you can tell employees who are necessary to fulfill the request. But outside of that, you can't tell any other customers. You can't talk to the media about it. But what I love about the United States Code is the history. So right after 2709 comes 2710, wrongful disclosure of videotape rental or sale records. And I when I said that, I said, why would that be in there? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, Robert Bork. I don't know if you remember Robert Bork. He was a Supreme Court nominee under Reagan. And during his confirmation hearing, somebody released his video rental records. And they were kind of, you know, blasé. They weren't really spicy or anything. There wasn't anything that made me, you know, go, oh my goodness, he's renting Debbie Does Dallas 3 or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But the public was so incensed that a Supreme Court nominee would have his video rental records released to the public that they passed a special law called the Video Privacy Protection Act, which is codified in 18 U.S.C. Section 2710.
Wow.
And says, yeah, if you're a video store, you cannot release the rental records without special written permission. So you can't even get your, like a usual form where you sign away your rights when you do business with a company. You have to have a special form that says, I allow this company like Blockbuster to release my video rental records to a third party.
Which, of course, video rental stores hardly exist anymore.
Yes, I know. So, yes, when you actually go through the United States Code, like I love going through the United States Code because you'll find like regulations on wireless telegraph operators.
They're still there.
Yeah, like, there's no more wireless telegraph operators.
No, but I mean, the regulations are still there.
Yes, the regulations. So I often thought, like, yeah, where's the regulations for whip and buggy makers?
Oh,
and
they're in there somewhere, probably.
You know, horseshoe size and everything else. And that's the thing I love about the government is that it never dies. They'll pass a regulation, and then 100 years from now,
that's not something to love about the government.
It's like it's like what's the name of the mythical creature that you can't kill? The Medusa. You slice off one of its tentacles and just 5 more grow back.
Is that the Medusa or the Hydra?
The Hydra. Thank you. Medusa turns you to stone.
That's right.
But I pulled up their transparency report. I think it is real because it was published yesterday, so it wouldn't have been on April 1st. It would have been March 31st.
So yes, this is probably a true story.
Okay, so the question is, who are they targeting and why? And is it a national security letter or is it just a simple sealed search warrant? So there's a difference.
Well, they have, so they break it down. They list the number of subpoenas, court orders, search warrants, and emergency requests that they receive.
Oh, wow.
So they actually break it down. I guess this would be they received whatever that secret letter is.
The national security letter.
Yeah. So this would be something different.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting because I would love to know if it's a subpoena, then I can't really. I don't want to read too much. I hate speculating. I kind of like to deal with facts. And absent one little piece of information, they took down their warrant, Canary. Okay, well, they've received something from the federal government saying we want information, and you're not allowed to tell anybody.
I suspect. Also, I was reading that Reddit joined Apple in an amicus brief regarding like the encryption issue. So it wouldn't surprise me if, I do think this is real. I don't think it's...
Yeah, so...
We'll continue the discussion here because really this is the whole idea of the national security letter and any other gag order I object to on the basis of freedom of speech. I mean, if freedom of speech is indeed a thing, and I think it should be, then you should be able to reveal any damn communications you receive from the government or anyone else, for that matter.
If you get a search warrant, you should be allowed to say, hey, I got a search warrant, and they're seeking information on these people.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. You should not be able to the government should not be able to send you a letter and then turn you into an unpaid informant for them.
Unpaid slave, yeah.
Yeah, it's Free Talk Live.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Are you worried about how dangerous the world has become? In these days of terrorist attacks, natural disasters, or even a future collapse, you need to be medically prepared to keep your family safe. I'm Joe Alton, MD of store.doomandbloom.net, where you'll find an entire line of uniquely designed medical kits and supplies for when help is not on the way. For everything from individual first aid kits to the ultimate family medical bag, go to store.doomandbloom.net today. That's store.doomandbloom.net. You'll be glad you did.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State. Or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealestate.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Arcade City is a ride-sharing app built by drivers for drivers. It's more decentralized than Uber and Lyft. With Arcade City, you can keep all of what you earn. Sign up now to drive for Arcade City at arcade.freetalklive.com. Arcade City was created by New Hampshire liberty activist Christopher David. When he publicized the idea in January 2016, he hoped to recruit 100 drivers by the end of the month. Instead, he blew past his goal with over 1,300 drivers signing up in just 2 weeks. Arcade City is connecting drivers directly with riders and is disrupting the already disrupted transportation industry. If you want to get involved, you can join as a rider or a driver. To ride with Arcade City, visit arcaderide.freetalklive.com. To drive with Arcade City, visit arcade.freetalklive.com. That's arcade.freetalklive.com to drive, or arcaderide.freetalklive.com to ride with Arcade City.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. We're talking about Warrant Canaries. Specifically, Reddit apparently has removed theirs. For 2015, they put out a report yesterday, so this is not an April's Fool prank. This is apparently the real deal. They put out a report, a transparency report, that in 2014 included a warrant canary, which is a notice saying that they have not been contacted and had requests made for user information by the federal government, specifically the FBI, for instance. And now that particular statement has been removed from their 2015 report, suggesting that they have indeed been contacted. Now, of course, that doesn't give us any more useful information about, what the topic or the purpose or the target of that contact or that request was. So we can continue the discussion here. You can join us as well at 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Skype first, though, where we have Brad on the line. Brad, where are you calling from tonight?
I'm calling from Arcata,
Welcome.
California.
Go ahead. You're on the radio.
I couldn't get your radio signal through your web page, so I'm having to listen to it on Skype. I don't really have anything to talk about.
Oh, well, we don't offer Skype for listening purposes. It's only for people who are calling into the show. So I don't know, what the technical difficulties might be, but we have multiple ways.
How are things going out there in California? Like, why did you choose California? Because, anytime we look at California, we look at all the rules and regulations. And, it's a very beautiful place to live. But goodness gracious, all the regulations and busybodies in the California legislature who are trying to regulate your lives, what's it like living out there?
Well, they're not bothering me, really.
For now? Or is it do you how do you stay under their radar?
I just do. I bought property here in Arcata, and
have you ever received a
Thanks
national...
for the call, Brad. I appreciate it. A good try trying to save a call from someone who wasn't intending to call, but obviously he was not really interested in talking, so we're going to move on.
Okay.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. It's interesting. Somebody had called recently thinking that they could listen to us on Skype, and I think the reason for that is when you go to freetalklive.com, there is at the top of the page sort of the defaults when we're live, there's a special page that loads up by default that has a big play button on it, and I guess he's saying he can't get that to work. But for most people, it should work just fine.
I'm getting a little whirlwind, a little bright light bulb went off above my head. Why don't we have a Skype listening line? That could be something.
You can't do that. Skype only allows one person per. We can take multiple calls on Skype at once, but everyone who's on hold is not actually getting the feed. The only person who the only person who receives the feed from us on Skype is the person who's live on the line. So not necessarily on the air, but when they're connected to us and not on hold. So Skype isn't designed to be a radio service. It's designed to be a calling thing.
I know. Well.
So, sorry about that. I think what's confusing people is it says at the top of freetalklive.com, click play below to listen live or continue to the full site, and then it says call toll-free, 855-450-FREE, or via Skype, lrn.fm. I guess they think that means that they can listen on Skype.
Yeah, well, what is the listening? For those of our listeners that don't know, what is your live listen line?
It's an excellent question. The listen line, I believe, is 213-493-0308.
So make sure you check. It's a long-distance call, but check your calling plan, and you can actually call and listen to us over the telephone line 24/7. It's keyed into the Liberty Radio Network.
But no one would be able – actually, what I just gave you was the FTL listening line. That's Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, not the LRN one, which is a different number. And I don't even know if that's the correct number I gave out because this cheat sheet that I have here may be a little out of date. So if you actually want to get the listen line information, just go to listen.freetalklive.com because it's hard to write down phone numbers if you're driving or whatever. You should go to listen.freetalklive.com. You can find live listen links there as well as an actual phone number that you can call and listen on. So our toll-free number here tonight, 855-450-FREE, or you can Skype in to talk to us on the radio at username lrn.fm. And that's, it's my fault. That's what I get for not actually screening the Skype call. No. I didn't actually pick up the line during the break and talk to the guy, and I probably should have done that.
Oh well.
Well, I was reading the Reddit thread here for the Warrant Canary, and people are bringing up some great points. Like this one guy is saying that so there's this thing that they can request like an emergency, like, oh, we think that someone is in danger, so we need their information immediately. Like law enforcement can put in a request, and someone's saying like, what about, there's like a suicide Reddit where people go and like, say like, hey, I'm thinking about committing suicide. Like maybe those people don't want to necessarily be known who they are. They're reaching out for help, and like if they're just going to comply with government requests, these people might be paranoid and not reach out for help. I mean, there's plenty of stories of like the police showing up and killing suicidal people. So
absolutely.
I think that Reddit, the CEO here, he's responding. He's doing very well. He's saying that they will never willingly hand over information. So unless they get a court order, or unless they agree that it's like someone's going to go on a mass shooting spree or something.
By the way, it's not free. If you're a business and you get one of these national security letters or subpoena or a search warrant to have records, so you're not the target of the investigation, but you have information about one of your customers the police want, you don't get compensated for the time you have to take off and search your computer database, print out and mail in the forms, or give them the information. You're expected.
It could be very time-consuming, depending on how much information they're requesting.
What if you're like a small company, like let's say you run a forum like you do, the Shire Society forum. What if you got one of these requests? I mean, it would probably be a lot of work.
What's my obligation to open it? Like if you receive this thing in the mail. Presumably, right?
They
it's
would
a
probably
letter.
Well, they usually send them certified mail, and you have to sign for it. So I know that when we got a copy of the warrant, I signed for it, and gave it to you. But
so what if, my family has a policy: we do not sign any certified mail. Like we don't do it.
Okay, yeah, that's actually.
And we tell the postal people return to sender. So
you do actually have that policy?
Yes, because
So I'm not the only. See, I married a nutball. See, his parents were.
My parents are worried about lawsuits.
Well, you see, I remember that when I was, we had the whole meet the family thing for was it Thanksgiving or Christmas? I forget. I was there for Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, I was there for Christmas in his family in Conyers, Georgia, and of course, I was telling them, I was a former spy and I've changed my name. I've had 5 legal names in my lifetime, and they're of course blowing their stack, thinking I'm up to something hinky, and of course, I thought, what exactly? Hold on.
You guys had some interesting conversations with his family.
Oh, yes. And I said, I told them, I said, yes, I conduct search. I lost my train of thought there. I apologize. we actually conduct search warrant drills in my house. Like when I was married, I would actually go outside the door and go knock, 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 knock. Phelps County Sheriff, or just pretend to be whoever. And that was to get prepared so the event we ever were raided for something silly, like not having the right smoke detector or not having the right permit for something, and they come barging in. How do you handle that? And that's the one thing I, of course, I still do that to this day. I prepare for a raid once a year, like a fire drill or a tornado drill. And I tell people this, and they look at me like I'm absolutely strange. Like, I would never be raided. And you said, well, you never know.
It can happen.
You could be swatted.
It happened to us.
They could get the wrong address. They could, they could say, well, this was the person's old address, and maybe they didn't do enough surveillance. There's all kinds of things like that policy of not signing for certified letters. It's actually a pretty decent one.
Well, I don't know. I've thought about that myself, and the problem is, they know that someone refused it. So if it's let's say it's a civil case, and whether it's another individual or the city or something like that, the city sends you the certified letter and you don't accept it. That doesn't mean they can't go ahead with the case. They can go ahead with the case, and now you don't know when the case is. You don't know, what's going on, and they can just go ahead without your input, and the judge will rule without your input.
That's what I always found fascinating. Like the Robin Hood case, they left a copy of the lawsuit at my door. Like I came home from work and I was like, "What the heck is this thing?"
And he was panicking, and he was like,
"But it's funny because you can't do that to them. Like you have to be able to prove that you served them properly, and if there's ever an issue,
But I think this FBI case or these national security letter is different, right? Because with the court situation, you need to be there to defend yourself. Otherwise, the court's going to rule in absentia. Or
it wouldn't surprise me if they sent some kind of agent out to
to hand deliver it.
Yeah, or to tell you in person.
I don't think so, because they send quite a few of these. There's a lot of these things that they send out every single year. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, and you can join us here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. It's Free Talk Live.
Going back to my victim saying, you cost me a lot of misery, and all total, $2,700 in doggy fees, and all it took was one container of Dynamite, 2 pounds, 3 ounces, and my dog has been cured. Abby's a 5-year-old silky terrier. She had chicken pox on her belly, clusters of bumps on her back, and she was allergic to 70 some odd things. So the dermatologist, it was, oh yeah, just keep giving her needles every 10 days, but she's not clearing up. And then it came up on my radio, Dynamite. DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
And I was like, oh, that's it. I gave her the Dynamite after 5 weeks, and one morning there was nothing there, and I'm like, oh my God, she's all clear. There wasn't one blemish on her body. Her fur is beautiful. She is totally happy. She is healthy, bump-free, pimple-free, shiny, silky. It turned our lives around. So thank you very much for Dynamite. I couldn't be happier. Dynamite's the bomb.
859-428-1000. 859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
For ages, scientists have associated the Earth's cosmic location with a wide spectrum of interstellar phenomena. But a study from the International Astronomical Union says that not only is the Earth far from the most interesting part of the cosmos, but is in fact located in the lamest, least awesome part of the universe.
We're billions of light years away from any supermassive black holes, interstellar explosions, or really anything even moderately cool. Our nebula just sucks so hard in comparison to some of the things out there.
Not only is the planet Earth and its solar system, quote, basically the most boring region of the entire universe, but a number of irregularly shaped galaxies illuminated in the Hubble Ultra Deep Field prove to be infinitely cooler than any of the weak-ass, boring-as-shit phenomena occurring in the Milky Way.
I mean, there's a black hole out there that weighs 21 billion solar masses, and it's 336 million light years away. Our black hole? It couldn't tear a mid-sized star apart. We're the cosmic equivalent of a cul-de-sac.
This is the Onion News Network.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
You can join us on Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Not for listening, for calling. You can call us up on Skype at username LRN.FM. With you tonight, Ian here.
James.
And TJ the Spy.
So we've been talking about the national security letter, which is kind of a scary thing. If somebody receives one of these national security letters, it means a few different things. One, that generally you can't disclose that you've received it. You could talk to your lawyer, and you can tell like a staff member that, like, let's say you're running a technology business, but you, the boss, don't know how to actually
operate the computers.
Right, to go into the records that you need to pull up. So you have to tell a technician, TJ, look, I need you to go in and pull James's information up. We've got this national security
But I'm not
letter.
allowed to tell any of my friends.
Correct.
I can't say, hey, we got this really interesting letter.
You
They're
can't tell
investigating.
any coworkers. You can't tell
You certainly can't tell the target of the investigation.
Right. And so there's that, and then there's the question of, well, what does this cost? What kind of costs are you incurring to do this research for the federal government? Because they're not paying you. They're not giving you $50 an hour or $100 an hour to do the work that you do. You essentially become an unpaid servant to the federal government if you receive one of these letters. And the non-disclosure portion has really been, I think, the most upsetting part about all this. I mean, I'm upset by anything that requires someone to work for free for the government, but people are used to that. That's what taxes are, right? When you jump through.
You got to give a third to half of your stuff for free.
Right, and you have to spend the time it takes to fill out all the forms in order to give them a third of your stuff.
Yeah, in fact, that was my biggest gripe with the IRS. It's not that I have to give them a third to half of my income. It was the 16 to 20 hours every year I had to spend going through my Schedule C, my 1040, my Schedule A, and like listing all my assets, like the business receipts, summing them up.
Isn't there a prohibition against slavery in the United States?
No. Oh, no. Actually, slavery is totally legal, and I'm being quite serious. The 13th Amendment says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall be permitted within the United States or its territories, except whereas punishment for a crime where you've been convicted by a jury of your pears.
But if
that
you're
is what
doing
the 13th
taxes, that's not punishment for a crime where you've been convicted. That's involuntary servitude.
Well, that's again, words mean whatever the courts want them to mean.
Well, that's true. And so that's why I pulled up this. I think it's worth looking at this again. I know we talked about this back when the news broke several months ago, but about the national security letters, because somebody named Nick Merrill actually was able to reveal one of these national security letters.
I remember the case, yes.
Years later, after he had received it, he was given permission by a court. The gag order was lifted, and he was able to reveal the text of it. Now, archive.org has the actual text, and it's instructive because it's my interpretation, and I'm not a lawyer, TJ, you've done some studying of the law. You are also not a lawyer, but you're pretty good at being a legal counsel.
And everyone keeps telling me I should become a lawyer, and I said I probably will at one point go to law school. It's kind of a fascinating thing to me, but yeah, go right ahead.
So I'm not going to read the entire national security letter, although it is relatively short. They cite Title 18
U.S.C. 2709?
Yes, Section 2709, saying you are hereby directed to provide the Federal Bureau of Investigation the names, addresses, lengths of service, and electronic communications transactional records of certain people, which they then don't include that information here. But in accordance with the Title 18, Section 2709B, this person writes, I certify the information sought is relevant to an authorized investigation to protect against international terrorism or clandestine intelligence activities, and that such an investigation of a United States person is not conducted solely on the basis of activities protected by the First Amendment.
No, that's a key word, solely. They actually can target you legally for what you say, even if it's protected speech. They just can't target you solely for what you say. So if I say, President Obama, I hate his guts, they can't solely target me for that, but they can target me if they use it in conjunction with another piece of information.
So here's where I think this order, and it goes on with a few more citations, but anyway, it just basically says turn over this information. Your cooperation in this matter is greatly appreciated. And it's interesting that they use the word request, isn't it?
It's appreciate. Yeah, in fact, I know somebody who received a letter from the Department of Commerce, and they said thank you in all caps and bold, and it said thank you for your cooperation. Your response is required by law.
Right.
And he, of course, being, as said, please, God, do not put this up on Facebook and say, I'm not filling out your form. Come and arrest me, you a-holes. I'm like, that is not a wise idea. It's one thing to disobey the government. It's a completely different one to disobey the government openly.
So the first section of 2709 says there's a duty to provide, and then it goes on to say that if you receive one of these requests, you are obligated, or rather you shall provide this information.
Yes.
So everywhere it says request, they don't actually mean request. I mean, if I say, TJ, I'm requesting that you get up and walk out of the room, that is a request. You can say, no, thank you, I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Yeah, and that was one thing the FBI agents, they kept saying, would you mind coming downstairs? Well, and I kept saying, is it a request or an order?
Yeah, it's an important question.
Well, I said, guys, just come on. You're federal agents. Say, I order you to go downstairs.
Right.
It's no big deal. I understand. It's an order, and once you say it's an order, I'll comply. But if it's a request, that kind of makes it seem like I have a choice in the matter. And
that reminds me of, they say the income tax code is voluntary. It's a voluntary tax.
Well, this comes back to the word games that the police like to play, which I was talking about before. Look, I'm going to have to ask you to hand that over.
Yes.
Or I'm going to have to ask you to search your car. And
the answer is
that's
no.
a great time to ask that question. Officer, is that an order or is that a request?
Yes. And every time I get this one, look, I'm not going to play your games with you. It's like, well, officer, look, I understand, and I want to cooperate with you to the fullest extent as required by law, but my attorney has advised me not to say anything without him being present, and I'm more than willing to hand over the keys to you to my vehicle if you say it's an order. But if you're asking for me to waive the
Fourth lawful order as well would be nice, but
just if you that's for the court to determine whether it's lawful or not. But generally, when the officer, one of the common things they'll say is, for example, one of the first things that the FBI agents said to all of us was, you're free to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know why we're free to go? Because Miranda, under Miranda versus Arizona, the Miranda warning, you have the right to remain silent, that only attaches when you're in a custodial situation.
When you're under arrest.
When you're, not free to go. So you don't have to be under arrest. You just have
They don't have to Mirandize you if you're under detention, though.
No,
right?
No. So they have to Mirandize you if, one, you're in a custodial situation, and a custodial situation is where a reasonable person would feel they're not free to leave. And
when you're detained, you are not free to leave, but you're
correct.
Also not under arrest.
And let me finish. And if they want to use your statements against you in court, that's the only time they have to Mirandize you. So if you are just sitting there, and even if you're detained, you're under arrest, if you're just sitting there and you blurt out, I murdered my wife, that's admissible in court because they weren't interrogating you. They weren't trying to question you.
I see.
If you're under arrest or they say, Mr. Freeman, you're not free to leave. By the way, did you murder your wife? And you say yes. That will be suppressed because they didn't Mirandize you. So the way they get around that is they'll say, Mr. Freeman, you're free to leave. By the way, did you murder your wife? And you say yes. Well, guess what? They didn't have to read Miranda to you because you were perfectly free to leave at any time. You voluntarily told them something of probative value in a criminal investigation,
all right,
it will be admitted. So
TJ, you worked for the federal government for a little while.
I did.
As an NSA
I had
agent.
to, by the way, I had to read Executive Order 12333 once a year, and so there's it's a 50-page document, and you have to read it line by line, and then you check at the bottom. I swear under penalty of perjury, I have read this document, and nobody ever read that document except me. And I would make a game of it. And I'm like, well, it's going to take me at least 2 days to read this thing. And so I would take 8 hours a day for 2 days straight and read this Executive Order 12333, which is actually mentioned in this national security letter.
So this letter, and I've got 2 points that I think make it invalid. And I want to hear what your analysis is of this.
Okay.
Point number 1. The letters require certification. Now, in the letter, the text of the so-called certification is included. That's the text that I read to you, where the person says this is an investigation for terrorism. This isn't about someone's free speech. I'm summarizing, but it says that that's required. But it is only the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation or his designee in a position not lower than deputy assistant director at bureau headquarters or a special agent in charge of a bureau field office may send these requests, may give that certification. This letter that I was reading, the one that was revealed by Mr. Nick Merrill a little while back after a court lifted the gag order, was written by Marion E. Bowman, Senior Counsel, National Security Affairs, Office of the General Counsel. That doesn't sound like an FBI agent to me. It doesn't sound like the director or a high-level FBI agent.
You got it. You caught us, Ian. The whole thing is illegitimate. It's just going to have to – the government's going to implode. They didn't follow – I'm sure there's some amendment somewhere. Remember, this is the great thing. When the United States Code is 100,000 pages, the Code of Federal Regulations 40,000 pages, and there's like 2 million pages of regulations. I'm sure in one of those 2 million pages there is an amendment to that rule that says under this set of circumstances – what you need to know.
They didn't cite the amendment, right? They cited this section
There's
of the
a special
code.
amendment that says we can do whatever we want. That's what the amendment you should cite.
Well, we know that, but it's not uncommon, though, TJ, for government to lie, for them to simply bluff.
You mean to tell me they lie? I had no idea.
So is it possible that a lot of these national security letters are just simply letters that they're sending out that that don't actually attach to the actual code here, and they're just intimidating people? I've got point number 2 coming up.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at SurvivorMax.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, April 1st, 2016. Silver is trading at $15.39 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,231 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $419. Antiwar.com reports, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, at least 23 people were killed and dozens wounded in Syrian airstrikes against the rebel-held town of Deir al-Asafir in eastern Ghouta, a suburb of Damascus. The casualties included 4 children and an unknown number of other civilians. Though the ceasefire has largely held in this area, fighting in and around nearby Douma were reported between military and rebel forces. The airstrikes hit a number of rebel civil defense forces in the town, but also hit a local mosque. The Syrian government insists that the town targeted is under control of the al-Qaeda affiliate Jabhat al-Nusra, and indeed the group is known to have a presence in the area, though other rebel groups deny it is really in control. Nusra is not covered by the ceasefire, and targeting them would not be a violation. The close relationship between Nusra and some rebel groups who are in on the ceasefire has seriously complicated the truce, with rebels repeatedly insisting everything done to Nusra is a violation. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the United States and United Kingdom will collaborate on an emergency preparedness exercise this year that will stage a mock cyber attack on a nuclear power plant in an effort to test infrastructure stability and readiness for such a strike, according to sources on Thursday. Government sources reportedly confirmed the forthcoming drill as British Prime Minister David Cameron prepared to travel to Washington, D.C. for the National Security Summit, which began on Thursday. It was not revealed, though, exactly when the drill will be performed, but the exercise's purpose is to test security preparedness and to assess the vulnerability of nuclear power plants to such an attack. One source said it gives us the ability to test these systems and to make sure that we learn any lessons. The Guardian newspaper reported Thursday that the cyber attack will be similar, according to sources, to a hacking drill performed last year against major banking systems. Cameron is expected to announce the joint test after he arrives at the two-day summit, which concludes on Friday. President Barack Obama met with the Japanese Prime Minister and South Korean President on Thursday, the first day of the summit, to discuss nuclear security and potential threats posed by North Korea. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a federal judge on Thursday struck down Mississippi's ban on adoption by same-sex couples, saying it violated the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution, according to court records. The decision by U.S. District Judge Daniel Jordan came in response to a lawsuit filed in August 2015 on behalf of 4 legally married same-sex couples, 2 of whom are already raising children, as well as the Campaign for Southern Equality and the Family Equality Council. The plaintiffs argued that the ban discriminated against legally married couples. The Mississippi ban on adoption by same-sex couples was the only one of its kind in the United States. Same-sex marriage was legalized in the state in 2014. The lawsuit came just weeks after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down same-sex marriage bans as unconstitutional across the country. Roberta Kaplan, lead attorney in the case, said in a statement on Thursday, 2 sets of our clients have waited many years, almost 9 and 16, to become legal parents to the children they have loved and cared for since birth. We hope that it should finally be clear that discrimination against gay people simply because they are gay violates the Constitution in all 50 states, including Mississippi. The Mississippi Department of Human Services, which was named in the lawsuit, cannot be immediately reached for comment. In his decision, Judge Jordan referred to the opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court that struck down the bans on same-sex marriage. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Allentown, Pennsylvania 5-year-old Trisha Billings announced from her dining room Saturday that the circle was no longer her favorite shape. The landmark declaration comes just days after the 5-year-old changed her favorite color from red to purple. While experts have struggled to determine what Billings' interim favorite shape will be, the 5-year-old assured reporters that the majority of her favorite things will remain consistent for the time being. Disney executives revealed in an interview Friday that all of the company's animated and live-action movies take place in a single unified universe, saying Never Never Land is actually mere minutes away from the jungle where Timon, Pumbaa, and Simba danced in a straight line and sang Hakuna Matata. Company heads stated that every character from Air Bud to Jiminy Cricket all inhabit the same interconnected world, just as Walt Disney envisioned it.
A lot of people don't know this, but Daryl Hannah's character in Splash actually lives in the exact same coral reef where Nemo went missing. And if filmmakers so desired, they could have Princess Jasmine, for example, hop into Herbie Fully Loaded to go watch the Jonas Brothers 3D concert experience.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us here if you'd like. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you can join us online. Just drop by freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we share with you. They're totally free. freetalklive.com. We've been talking about Reddit. That appears to have received at some point at least one, maybe more than one, national security letter. They removed the Warrant Canary from their yearly transparency report that they apparently released yesterday. And the story is actually over at the top of freetalklive.com as submitted and voted on by listeners like you. In this case, Liberty Evolution submitted the story. Thank you for that. Brought it to our attention. And we're discussing what exactly the national security letter is. How many of these national security letters that they're sending out are, in point of fact, by definition, not national security letters? And by the way, with you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian here.
James.
And TJ the Spy.
And so, TJ, as you pointed out, the U.S. Code is 100,000 pages.
Yes, just the U.S. Code. Now, the Code of Federal Regulations, that's an additional 40,000, and that's not the administrative regulations. So, like the DEA and the ATF, they have millions of pages of regulations and clarifications. So if you actually took all the documents the U.S. government produces that they want to use to regulate your life, you're easily talking 2 to 3 million pages. In fact, nobody really knows how many laws there are out there. There are just too darn many of them. And so, you know, that's one of the dangers is nobody, all of you out there who think you're good, you know, the government would never
citizen.
bother me. I'm a good Christian going. I go to church and I don't do anything. Well, you know what? You think that, but I guarantee you any U.S. attorney, if they can't find at least 10 to 20 felonies to charge you with, maybe possession of a bald eagle feather, maybe you were digging for Indian artifacts on federal land, maybe you were picketing at the courthouse trying to influence a case. There are so many things out there that they can charge you with. Including interstate transportation of dentures is one of my favorite ones. You know, so I always use that as an example. But yeah, it actually is a federal crime to transport dentures across state lines if you're not a licensed dentist. So if my mom, when she was in South Carolina and I was in Illinois, she called me up and said, "Son, can you mail me my dentures? I left them at home." And I said, "No, Mom, the federal law." And she's, "What are you talking about?" And I sent her the text of the law.
Good thing you knew about that one.
I did. My attorney said, absolutely do not mail her dent. Don't use a common contract carrier, FedEx. Do not use for God's sakes, don't use the Postal Service because that would be a separate crime. You know, you can't use the mail. You see, it's not only a crime to transport dentures, it's also illegal to use the mail to transport the dentures because you cannot use the United States mail to commit a crime. That's mail fraud.
So what we were doing was looking at the actual U.S. code that is cited in at least one of these national security letters, not the one sent to Reddit. We don't know what that one says. Yeah. But the one sent to a man named Nick Merrill, who was working for some electronics communications provider and received one of these letters, and then ultimately there was a gag order lifted that he believed allowed him to reveal the letter. But I believe, is my interpretation here, that the letter he was sent wasn't legal, meaning that it wasn't by the law, the strictures of the actual U.S. code. It was just a letter. It wasn't a national security letter. It sounded like a national security letter.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like a national security letter. But in point of fact, it didn't meet the qualifications.
Are you willing to risk your freedom and your house and your bank account, Ian, to test that theory?
Well, my freedom's already being risked. So,
right.
yeah. I mean,
by the way, for those of you who want to know, 18 U.S.C. 1821 is the transportation of dentures statute. It's a real scintillating read. Yeah, this is what I do with my free time. I actually do go through the United States Code and just find ridiculous laws and be like, wow, how could I violate this? But
there was 2 points that I wanted to make and get your legal analysis on this, TJ. The first one was that the letters, according to the code that is cited in the letter, the person who wrote this letter, Marion Bowman, the senior counsel, National Security Affairs, Office of the General Counsel, wrote this letter, cites Section 2709B, and says, hey, this is what I'm citing as the code that allows me to send you this letter.
Okay.
But the code actually says you have to be a Federal Bureau of Investigation director or a
deputy
designee,
director or a special agent in charge, yeah,
or the designee who is a rank no lower than deputy assistant director.
Okay.
So your typical FBI agent cannot send one of these
Correct.
national security letters.
It has to be a special agent in charge or a deputy director. And
this person who is the senior counsel for the National Security Affairs Office of the General Counsel, is that a division of the FBI?
No, Office of General Counsel, they're a separate federal agency.
They're attorneys, right?
Yeah, they basically make sure the federal employees don't violate the law. So there's two agencies. If you're a federal employee, there are two agencies. You're about to have a very bad day if they ever make a visit to your little cubicle. One is the Office of the Inspector General. They investigate claims of fraud, waste, and abuse. So if an OIG special agent shows up at your desk, you are in big trouble. And that was always the fear at the NSA. It's like, please, God, don't let me steal some copy paper and or a government Skillcraft pen and have them show up. The other is the Office of General Counsel, and they are basically lawyers and they have special agents, but their job is to make sure that no laws are violated and make sure all their rules. And of course, it's funny because the government, they can do whatever they want. So They'll have a rule that says we can't torture people, and then they'll have another rule that says we can torture people in these circumstances.
Well, as long as they don't call it torture.
It's called, enhanced interrogation techniques.
Yeah.
And, it's not a war. It's a limited armed incursion.
It's
or
not
it's
a
an
hacking
armed
tool.
police
It's
action.
A network investigative technique.
Yes.
So here's point number two. So I think point number one, maybe you're right.
Well, let me just address it for more practical. Okay, Ian, you're absolutely correct. She is not legally allowed to issue a national security letter. How hard do you think it is for her to call up the special agent in charge at the local field office and get him to sign the exact same letter and mail it out to you?
Well,
Boom.
They didn't do that. They didn't do that. They violated their own code. They just sent a letter that sounds like a threatening
and so
letter.
The wrong person signed it, and so it's going to take an additional 24 hours to get the right person to sign it, and then you'll still have the same issue is, can the government compel you, even though you don't want to, turn over information about your customers?
Point number two is judicial review. There's supposed to be a section in the national security letter. According to Section D of 2709, Part 1, in general, a request under subsection B or a nondisclosure requirement imposed in connection with such request under subsection C shall be subject to judicial review under Section 3511. A request shall include notice of the availability of judicial review described in paragraph 1. That national security letter, the supposed national security letter that we were giving you excerpts from before, does not mention anything about you have the right to a judicial review of this. So therefore, again, it violates the code in two different ways.
Okay, and you know what? The whole government's going to implode now.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Nicholas Merrill, I believe, could have revealed this letter and not have actually violated.
Well, it's going to take someone doing that, saying.
Right. And if I was Nick Merrill's lawyer, I would say, do you really want to risk a 5-year, 10-year jail sentence on the chance you're wrong? I mean, yeah, I think your interpretation of the law is correct, and I think this national security letter was not up to the letter of the law.
It makes me wonder how many of them are. How many of the thousands of these per year that they're sending out are actually up to spec?
I would say it's our experience that it doesn't matter what the piece of paper says. Like, the freedom of speech, but unless you actually stand up and say, I have that freedom,
that's right.
You don't have it. I mean, The Soviet
and he didn't. He stood by and did what he was told to do.
The Soviet Constitution, they had the freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly. They had the right to privacy.
And by the way,
they had all kinds of rights that didn't exist.
Well, yeah, I mean, the same thing in East Germany. I love when I visited East Germany, I got to go to the Stasi headquarters. That was the East German secret police that spied on everybody in East Germany. And one of the things in the East German Constitution, all German citizens shall enjoy the right to privacy in their telephone communications. And guess they had telephone taps on every single person's phone line. So that is the thing about the government. They can say whatever they want. The Bill of Rights, they're just words on a piece of paper. The you shall not be forced to incriminate yourself, that doesn't mean anything. If a police officer were to pull you over and you said, I don't want to talk to you, and he was able to break your kneecaps and get away with it, guess what? You don't have the right to remain silent unless you're willing to have your kneecaps broken. Rights are only as strong, and that's the reason I say rights are like muscles. The reason
you have to exercise them, yeah.
Oh, actually. And I said, if you're a person out there, you're innocent. You get pulled over by the police, and you're like, okay, if the officer just wants to ask me, where am I going? Am I a U.S. citizen at the Border Patrol checkpoint? What's the harm in that? And I say, well, the problem is you get into the habit of just cooperating now when you don't have to. What happens when they want to start doing stuff that's truly wrong? How are you, it's better to tell them no now so they get used to being told no. And, that's
totally. The number that you can join us with is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Exercise your free speech.
Imagine your life 5 years from now. Are you on the path you want to be on? It's time to take control of your future by getting a world-class education from one of the nation's top universities. Arizona State University is now offering over 100 top-tier degree programs 100% online. It's the exact same degree our on-campus students receive, but you can learn from anywhere in the country on your own schedule. For information, call 1-800-939-9426. Learn from ASU's world-renowned faculty and use ASU's global recognition to improve your visibility, professional network, and gain real-world experience you can start using today. The Wall Street Journal ranked ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates. Now discover how ASU Online can stand out on your resume and help separate you from the competition. We're ready to help you learn to thrive in your life, in your career, and beyond. To learn more about ASU online degrees, call 1-800-939-9426. That's 1-800-939-9426.
It's no secret that pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, molds, and fungus can inflict severe damage in the human body. Fortunately, a new and vastly improved silver solution has been developed. Supernatural Silver is a revolutionary broad-spectrum antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal solution that can be used inside the body as well as on the skin. Supernatural Silver is unique and superior to colloidal and ionic silvers, using a patented technology that is highly effective against colds, flus, infections, food poisoning, and yeast, in addition to many other pathogens. Supernatural Silver is scientifically supported, extremely safe, and is the #1 choice of thousands of people for immune system support. Find out how Supernatural Silver could change your life. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code HEALTHY for 20% off. That's supernaturalsilver.com. And like us on Facebook.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love. But make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin. mymagicmud.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. Join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, TJ the Spy will be telling us how the government is like a computer. That's what you said you wanted to
Yes,
talk about
I did.
tonight. So we'll get into that. Plus, I want to let you know about freedomsphoenix.com. They're uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies every day at freedomsphoenix.com. You're provided the detailed, real news that lies between the lines of propaganda and the relationship we have with coercive governments. freedomsphoenix.com offers up-to-the-minute updates on the economy, technology, communications, and the rise of the police state. So go to freedomsphoenix.com, sign up for their free daily dispatch. That's freedomsphoenix.com. And we're sort of talking about the police state here and how it is that the government will try whatever it is they want to try, and most of the time they'll get away with whatever it is that they try to get away with until somebody stands up and says no, or until somebody stands up and points out what they're doing and says, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So as long as they keep getting away with it, then they can do it for as long as they pull it off.
The government is like a living organism. They have an immune system, and so the government has an immune system, and when it detects a threat, it knows how to react to it, but at the same time, it knows not to go too far. So a good example would be the Border Patrol checkpoint. If you're going through the Border Patrol checkpoint within 100 miles of a U.S. border or intercoastal waterway, and they stop you and say, are you a U.S. citizen? Well, that's a question from a law enforcement officer. Those are law enforcement officers. They're asking you, are you a U.S. citizen?
And they're allowed to ask you any question they want.
And they are allowed to ask you any question they want. And you, under the Fifth Amendment, are free to say, I have nothing to say. In fact, my attorney has said not to say anything. In fact, I want to speak with my attorney. And they'll say, well, you have to answer us. Well, no, sir, I don't, because the law is very clear. I do not have to make any statements to you, period.
But they're allowed to lie, which is what they're doing.
They're allowed. And so if you don't know that you have the right to tell them, now, of course, here's what they'll do. They have to decide, do we want to stop the line and really bust this guy's balls, or do we want to just, this guy obviously has no drugs. He's not here to, he's not transporting illegal aliens. And it really depends on the agent if they want to make your life miserable or not. So I totally understand. If you're on with your family, your wife and kids, you got all your luggage in the trunk, you're heading out to California to enjoy your vacation, the last thing you want is to have your window broken or be put into secondary, detained for 12 hours. It's just easier for you to say, yes, sir, we're all U.S. citizens.
Of course, the easy path is always the path of
least resistance.
Obedience.
And the thing is, they're not going to ask you to pull out your passports unless you have brown skin or look kind of hinky. That's the thing is, how do you tell I'm a U.S. citizen? I'm white, but there are non-white U.S. citizens. I speak English, but that's not a requirement to be a U.S. citizen.
That's right.
Unless you force everybody to pull out their passport and prove that they're a U.S. citizen, there's really no point in asking. Can you imagine this? Gosh darn it. I was a terrorist. I was going to blow up the Golden Gate Bridge, but officer, I'm here in this country illegally, and you caught me. And because you asked me if I'm a U.S. citizen, I can't lie because 18 U.S.C. Section 1001 makes it a false statement to lie to one of you Border Patrol agents, and 18 U.S.C. Section 911 makes it a federal felony for me to impersonate a U.S. citizen. I'm here illegally. I'm here to blow up the Golden Gate Bridge. You caught me. No. A real terrorist, he's going to lie and say, I'm a U.S. citizen. And so really my concern is if you have brown skin or speak a foreign language and you're near the border, The Border Patrol, they're going to harass you. If you say you're a U.S. citizen and you are, we might have to pull you over and frisk you and determine. And that's what the real purpose of these Border Patrol checkpoints are. They don't catch terrorists. They don't stop traffic or smuggling. What they catch are college kids with a joint. Or here's the other thing. If I'm transporting 50 kilos of cocaine in my trunk and I'm going through a Border Patrol checkpoint, I'm not going to be arguing with that guy. I'm going to say, yes, sir, I'm a U.S. citizen.
Sure.
And he's going to let me go. It's only if I'm totally clean and I have nothing illegal in my car, I will say, officer, I'm not answering your questions. And then I will get into a 10-hour...
or not. Mark tried this, our co-host Mark Edge, who appears on Wednesdays and weekends here on Free Talk Live.
Oh, sir, you have to respond because of Section 317 gives us the authority. It's like, yes, it gives you the authority to ask us, and you are entitled to determine whether I'm a U.S. citizen.
The video was about 5 minutes long, so it really wasn't a particularly long detention, but you're right that it just all depends on the agents that you're dealing with.
They could have made it a 6-hour ordeal if they wanted. And they're like, well, Mr. Edge, we don't know if you're really a U.S. citizen or not, and we're going to have to do a little bit more investigation, and we're going to have to search through your car a little more. So people, I totally understand if you don't want to be the kind of person who stands up to the bully and say, hey, I'm not doing what you tell me to, because you know what? The law says I don't have to. Not only am I morally right, I'm legally right. I don't have to talk to you, and I'm not going to. But they can also then seize your car and keep you for 6 to 12 hours while they investigate you. So I understand why people take the path of least resistance. And I don't like a lot of libertarians, they say, oh, you talked with the police. And I said, well, sometimes talking with the police is the easiest way to make them go away. If you want the police to go away, not talking with them, usually, the reason lawyers say don't talk to the police is because in experience, time and time again, if you talk to the police, you notice like the FBI agents, Mr. Ian, what kind of dog is that? How many miles you got in your cruiser out there? That has nothing to do with any investigation. The reason they're asking you those questions is because psychologically, if they can get you to answer one or two questions about where you grew up or you like your wife, they're probing for weaknesses. And if they can get you to answer one question, then they can get you to answer a second.
Sure,
and
that's
if they
an old sales technique. If you get in sales, if you ask people questions that the response is yes, you ask
get the ball rolling on a yes. Right. So, and
then the next question is, would you like to buy the product or whatever?
And that's why I was constantly jumping in front of the agent saying, agent, that's not relevant to a criminal investigation, and Ian has nothing to say unless his attorney's present. So, that's one of the things. You got to be like a robot. The government's very much like a computer system in the fact that they have these rules, and they know how to get around the rules in spirit. So the rule will say, well, we can't question a suspect without his attorney being present once he's asked for it. But you know what? If we just tell everybody you're free to leave, then we don't have to read the Miranda warning to them. And then if they say something, however innocuous, innocently, we can use that against them. And believe me, they do. If you read I know on our show we advertise Rats, the guidebook on how to protect yourself from confidential informants, snitches, minks. The number of people who have been charged for crimes and they've been royally screwed by the police, and they say, boy, the police officer was so nice. And I'm like, yes, of course. Police officers are smart. Yeah. Are you going to confess a crime to somebody who's mean to you, or no, you're going to confess to somebody who's being nice. And
it's just why they have the bad cop, good cop. So the bad cop's sort of badgering you and abusing you, and then the good cop looks like, Mr. Nice Guy in comparison.
Actually, believe it or not, and this is,
even though they're both trying to get you convicted of something.
One of the hardest things for a police officer to learn is when do you use the good cop and when do you use the bad cop. A lot of cops, they go straight for the bad cop, but generally what you want to do is you start off with the good cop routine because that builds rapport. And have you ever had a friend get angry with you all of a sudden? How do you feel on the inside? If you like somebody, you've built up a relationship, and then they're mad at you, you want to try to make them not angry. Well, for a police officer, the way to make them not angry is give them a confession. And that's why I always wonder, do police officers, when they're interrogating people, do they actually have genuine feelings of anger? Or is it just like a routine for them? Yeah. Are they like, okay, I'm done being nice. Now it's time to switch to anger. Oh, we've had 5 minutes of anger. Let's switch back to being nice.
Well, we know some officers, it's their job to be duplicitous. They undercover officers, for instance, will act like they're your best friend, and then turns out they've been working against you the entire time.
And I know some of our listeners are police officers. That's not bad per se. That's just how they get confessions from guilty people. The problem comes when they're arresting people for transporting dentures across state lines, Or if they're arresting people because they deposited $10,000 of cash into their bank in increments of, say, $5,000, violating the structuring laws, 31 Section 5322. A lot of these laws are very stupid. They don't hurt anybody.
Allows you to join us here at 855-450-FREE. Your experience with the police and questioning or whatever's on your mind. Free Talk Live.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com or 800-544-3533.
The warning signs.
First, he made me feel special. He promised he'd look after me, provide for my future. He broke every promise he made.
Millions of Americans afflicted.
I was ready to leave, but he told me he'd change. So I gave him another chance. I was such a fool.
The consequences.
Things only got worse. He started making my decisions for me. About my job, my kids' education, my money, my safety, my future. He took away my choices, but I kept going back to the same politicians.
The diagnosis? Battered voter syndrome.
I fell for the same old lies. They were just playing with my emotions, telling me what I wanted to hear. That's not right.
Stop the insanity of voting for the same old abusers. Declare your independence from the two-party system and join the New Hampshire Liberty Party today at nhliberty.info.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is down $20 at $1,214 per ounce. Silver is down 50 cents at $15 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $416 US. Both silver and gold are significantly lower today. This would be a great time to buy on the dips. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Join us toll free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online. Just head on over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we share with you there. If you like the show and you want to help support Free Talk Live, well, then you can AMP Free Talk Live over at amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote, and it's $5 a month, which is all you have to spend to help us get on more radio stations, to help spread the message of liberty as far and as wide as possible. And we can do that, again, for just $5 a month from you, and we combine it together with others, and then it allows us to effectively market the show and again, spread the show to new stations, new satellite signals, new internet connections, and more. Go and get the details and get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, the AMP-only podcast, and the AMP-only Facebook group. Go to amp.freetalklive.com, amp.freetalklive.com. So the toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. TJ, I know there was somewhere you wanted to go, but I didn't take a note on what
I think I was going to talk about come this campaign election season.
Oh, there's some sort of discrimination going on.
Yes, somebody
against Trump voters, right?
Yes. Basically, there's a piece in the GJ Sentinel that basically said, for rent, downtown apartment, 2 bedrooms, includes organic garden space, hot tub, and so forth. If voting for Donald Trump, do not call. And
Interesting.
A lot of people started calling this person saying you're violating the Fair Housing Standard Act, which basically means if you own a piece of land and you're renting as a landlord, you can't discriminate on the basis of race, religion,
sexual
gender.
orientation?
I'm not sure if sexual orientation has been included in the civil rights amendments.
Okay.
But I know one thing that's not protected is your political affiliation.
That's interesting.
In most states, it is perfect. Under federal law, it is perfectly legal. If you have made a contribution to a Democrat or Republican, you can say you're fired. You can say I'm not voting or I'm not renting this house to you. You can say I'm not doing business with you. It is perfectly legal to discriminate against people based on their political party. And that's one of the things I caution people about when they donate to political campaigns. And one of the reasons I donated to Darrell W. Perry's campaign for president.
That's our co-host.
That's our co-host, and he's running for president, and he's breaking federal campaign election laws. He is not keeping records of his donors. So if someone, I gave him $5, and he did not take my...
Wait a minute. I believe he's only taking Bitcoin and other crypto, like Bitcoin, silver,
well, we're
like
trying to.
currencies.
I'm trying to help him violate as many laws as possible.
So wait, he accepted cash from you?
You know what? If it helps him break another law, I'll give him $5 in cash.
So
yes.
You didn't give him $5
I gave him
cash.
$5 in Bitcoin.
Okay, just wanted to be clear on that because Darrell has told me he is refusing to accept Federal Reserve notes for his campaign. So that's why I was surprised when you said that.
Yeah. But you can actually go to fec.gov and you can type in a name and see who that person's given money to. And so if you're going to give money, if you're the kind of person who values your privacy, if you're going to donate to a political campaign, you should do it through a proxy. I mean, that's illegal to do that. I can't give $100 to James for James to then give that to, say, Bernie Sanders.
You can't give him an instruction to do that. But if you were to give him $100 and then he were to happen to give it to Bernie Sanders.
Yes, and that's the thing about the law. The reason these laws are dumb is there are so many ways to get around them and prove I didn't violate the law. So a good example.
Now, James, you need to use that $100 to go and rent videos at Blockbuster Video. You
can't donate it to Bernie Sanders in any way, right. Even though But
of course, money's fungible, so you don't know if the $100 that you gave to him is the same $100 that he ends up giving to Darrell W. Perry or Bernie Sanders or whoever.
And, the same thing with federal firearms law. So it would be illegal for James to pay me for me to go out and buy a gun for him because I don't have an FFL. I don't have the government permission slip. As long as I get the government permission slip, it's fine. But if I were to buy a gun for myself, and I said, after a day, I'm like, I don't like this gun. James, do you want to buy this gun off my hands? I don't want it anymore. And then he were to pay me. Then it would be perfectly legal because now I didn't buy the gun for the purpose of transferring it to him. I bought the gun for me, and I just happened to not like it, and I sold him. Now, how many times can you do this before the ATF says, no, you're actually in a business of selling guns. You need the permission slip, and we're arresting you for 18 U.S.C. Section 926.
Is there a number of times? Because, I know with car dealers in a lot of
it's like 5
a lot of states, 5 or 6 per year, and you're a dealer, not just.
It's when they decide they don't like you.
Yes. Sure. One of the things, if you have to be careful if you're an activist. You can criticize the government, or you can tap dance around the law, but you can't do both. If you're the kind of person who likes to irritate the government and get up in their caw, but you also like to sell firearms, you're going to be in a lot of trouble if they say, well, you sold 7 guns in the course of a month and you bought them for yourself, held on to them for a day, and then sold them to a third party. You clearly were not intending to hold on to them for yourselves. A lot of these laws, they require what's called mens rea, or guilty mind. They have to the jury has to believe in your mind you intended to break the law.
Yeah, you knowingly.
Did. So a good example, structuring, Title 31, Section 5324. If you own your own cash, you've paid your taxes, it's not drug money or mafia hitman money, it's your own legal money, $10,000 in cash. If you go into the TD Bank and put that $10,000 in cash, that's no big deal. They'll fill out a form, a one-page form to the IRS, and nothing
called
more.
A currency transaction
report to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network up in Detroit, and they never look at these forms. The only time they look.
How many thousands per day do they receive?
They file about 17 million a year, and 99% of them, literally over 99%, are on innocent people who are just wanting to buy
business. If you've got a high-end business,
or your grocery store,
right.
if you're like Walmart, if they go to the bank and they put like $20,000 of gross receipts in the bank every day, they fill out a CTR. So it's not illegal to put $10,000 of cash into the bank. It's illegal to break it up into amounts smaller than $10,000 to avoid that filing of the form. And so Dennis Hassert is a textbook case example. Dennis Hassert was the former Speaker of the House. He was paying some hush money to somebody, and it's not illegal to pay hush money. Someone was accusing him of allegedly molesting a child when he was a high school wrestling coach. And again,
it's not illegal to blackmail someone?
Well, it's not illegal. I mean, blackmail is, that's kind of, it's a very, what is blackmail? But it's not illegal to pay hush money. If, look. Ian,
so to be the blackmail victim is not illegal.
No.
But okay.
Look, Ian, if you had a secret on me and you said, look, TJ, I really need help here. Can you give me $5,000 a month? And I say yes, that is my right to say, yeah, look, if you don't tell everybody the secrets I've told you, in general, I'm sure there might be some things the government could come up with, obstruction of justice charges or something if you withheld information. It's called misprision of a felony. But the general rule is, it's not illegal to pay hush money. Dennis Hassert got in trouble. He paid his hush money in $9,000 increments
to avoid the
CTR
reports.
filings, and that is a crime. That's called structuring.
Yeah, but how much trouble did he get into? Isn't he a politician or something?
No, he's in jail now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got indicted.
Oh, wow.
And he's now in jail.
So if you want to join us here, so you said 17 million cash transaction
CTRs
reports?
every year.
That's 46,000
and they're going up
per
exponentially because of inflation. So $10,000 in 1986, when this law was passed, is not $10,000 today. So every year, more and more of these forms are being filed, and eventually it's going to be where if you want to buy a cup of coffee at McDonald's for $15,000, they're going to have to fill out a currency transaction report on you unless they raise the limit. But here's the question: if it's my money, it's not been stolen, it's not been taxed, it's my money. I've earned it legally. Why can't I put $5,000 into my checking account today and $5,000 next week? That's not against the law unless my intent was to avoid a CTR, in which case it's a very serious federal felony. And I can understand if I was also a drug dealer or a mafioso or a cartel member, that I could understand if you were indicting me for structuring. But structuring for saying you didn't put the money in the bank the way we wanted you to put it into the bank, that is utterly silly.
Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. In other news, since we're talking about ridiculous laws, Zen Magnets has gotten 90% of the way toward victory. Now, Zen Magnets, for those of you who don't know...
Are those things we have here in the studio?
Yes, they are.
Oh, good.
Little
I'm holding them up.
balls. You're holding them up right now, TJ the Spy. The Zen Magnets was the only company left standing after the CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, issued basically a diktat saying that everyone manufacturing these little magnetic balls that you can make neat little sculptures out of needs to take them off the market, no matter what their warnings were, because some children might swallow them. We'll tell you the latest in the Zen Magnets case coming up.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
My computer is so slow, it's making me crazy.
I used to have that problem.
Did you quit using a computer, or did you buy a new one?
No, I called Geeks On Site. They made an appointment to visit my home and showed up the same day.
You mean they didn't ask you to bring your computer to a shop? That's what happened when I called a support company.
Geeks On Site can go to your home or business or even repair your computer online. They have 24/7 emergency service.
If you are having problems with your PC or Mac, call Geeks On Site, 1-800-591-1682. Our friendly certified computer repair experts are available 24/7. Call now for a free diagnosis, 1-800-591-1682. Data recovery, virus removal, and maintenance for all laptops, desktops, printers, and networks. That's Geeks On Site for friendly certified computer repair experts, available 24/7 over the phone or in your home or business. Just call 1-800-591-1682. That's 1-800-591-1682, 1-800-591-1682.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live dial toll free and join us at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. Zen magnets. TJ has them in his hands right now. You're showing them to the close-up camera, but unfortunately it's not working tonight.
Oh, okay.
So we only have the wide shot tonight due to some upgrades in the studio.
Tell me how the Consumer Product Safety Commission is protecting me from these evil, awful little neodymium magnets here.
Well, a while back, they went after the multiple manufacturers of these. There was another company whose name I'm spacing out on. It was much more popular than Zen Magnets. And I don't.
It's not important. Just
sorry about that, James. Let me try that again. Go ahead.
Was it Buckyballs?
That was it, Buckyballs. And so, like the colored ones. So the ones you're handling, TJ, are silver magnets. These tiny little balls, very very small. And that's Zen magnets. The colored ones are the Buckyballs brand. And Zen Magnets also does the colored balls as well.
Tell me now why I can't have these, because some parents
some
can't
child could, and I suppose an adult could as well, swallow 2 of those balls. If you swallow one and then another one later, then as they pass through your intestines, they may link together in your intestines, thereby sticking in the intestines and causing some sort of serious damage.
Yes.
So this has apparently happened at some point. Now, there's no evidence that the person who ate these magnets or persons who ate the magnets were eating Zen magnets. There's no evidence of that.
Yeah.
But further, the Zen Magnets was the only company who challenged the ruling by the CPSC. They had all kinds of ridiculous warnings, and I think I still have the box for them where you can actually see how many warnings there were that were put on this product. Like warnings to the point of ridiculousness.
Yes.
And in fact, the judge mentions how absurd the warnings are, but points out that there was no shortage of warnings plastered all over this product, making it clear this is not a toy for children. This is an adult office, doodad, basically.
Yes.
This is something that adults
you think about something like bleach. If the CPSC had their way, we wouldn't be allowed to have bleach in our homes.
Someone could drink the bleach.
Because a child could drink the bleach.
You put it in your eyes. Not a good idea, kids.
And I said, why does the Consumer Product Safety Commission, I thought, these are amazing little toys. I love playing with them.
They're fun.
And they're not illegal. It's not a criminal offense to possess them. It's only a criminal offense to sell them in interstate commerce.
Right. So Zen Magnets, here's their website, zenmagnets.com. Their latest post came up a couple days ago. Actually, Shihan Q is the founder of Zen Magnets, and we actually had the pleasure of meeting him at a Bitcoin conference in, I think it was San Jose, a few years ago. He was walking around with a sign advertising that he would take Bitcoin for his magnet sets, and we ended up having him on the show, and he kind of told us about what was going on with his case. And so this has been in the works for a number of years.
And so after spending several $100,000 on an attorney to go into court in front of the men's in robe and argue, hey, what's the ruling?
They said it couldn't be done. We knew the odds were small, but on principle alone, we had to try. With the support of many, we have won. The outcome of our December 2014 spent in court in D.C. has landed strongly in our favor. To what degree have we won? Well, here's a little bit more about that. Quote, this is regarding the defects in the magnets. Quote, proper use of Zen magnets and Neo balls create no exposure to danger whatsoever, unquote. This is from the court ruling. It was found that Zen magnets are not defective under Section 16 CFR 1115.4 and are not substantial product hazards under the CPSA. The CPSC presented absolutely no evidence that separation alone creates any threat to any individual. Additionally, these small rare earth magnets, SREMs, are not violative of some ASTM code F963 when they're sold with proper warnings like ours and to people 14 years or older. Regarding warnings, remember when the CPSC argued that no warnings could ever be effective for magnet spheres? Well, the judge found that all of the versions of the warnings used by Zen are effective and do not contain a, quote, fault, flaw, or irregularity which causes a weakness, failure, or inadequacy. This includes the warnings that went viral on Reddit and the ones that referred to the CPSC as grumpy. Quote, although respondent acted tongue-in-cheek, the warnings are nonetheless clear. The products are dangerous if swallowed and require immediate medical attention. And given respondents' blatant warnings on the product's packaging and website, ingestion certainly constitutes misuse. Unquote from the judge.
I mean, here's what I'd like to point out. Why does the government get to decide for me what risks I can take with my little play toys? I mean, as an engineer, I have a lot of dangerous play toys, high-power lasers, guns, things that could kill people.
Especially if you put them in the hands of a small child.
Yes, and here's the thing. Why does the government feel this incessive need to protect me from having fun? If I want to have these magnets around in my house, I can have them. I mean, they're perfectly legal to own. You just can't sell them in interstate commerce. So I like to point out the EPA is a government terrorist organization. Every time I go to the bathroom, I have to, bring the plunger because that 1.6 gallon per flush rule, it's illegal to sell a toilet in the United States in interstate commerce that uses more than 1.6 gallons per flush if it's for a home residence. Why on God's green earth does the government get to tell you how much water your toilet can use? And more importantly...
Well, they're trying to save the earth.
Save the earth. No. Well, if you have to flush 5 times and then use the plunger because it won't go down. Every time I go to a hotel and I see those eco toilets, I just go, oh, please help me. I have to go to the gas station and use those commercial blowout toilets. And
those things are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they use 3 gallons per flush. They go whoosh. They can. I mean, you can flush a butterball ham down them. Here, I mean, it's embarrassing. I'm always embarrassing myself at my friend's house. I'm going to I've clogged your toilet again.
Right.
And it's just because 1.6 gallons is not enough. I want a toilet. In fact, I mean, this is what's frustrating is these agencies, they're making our lives worse. My washing machine doesn't work. My dishwasher leaves my dishes spotty.
You just don't care about kids, TJ. You just want them to
or
die
the environment. Yeah, I just want kids to. I mean, the government. Why is? We need to protect you. Well, okay, why don't you ban cigarettes? Oh, we're okay with that. See, the government's okay if you kill yourself.
Well,
you just got to do it slowly enough.
And this raises the question of a lot of times when there's some sort of government prohibition on a product or regulations on a certain line of products, it is usually designed to benefit certain businesses who've been in for a while, right?
Yes.
So like cigarette companies are insulated from
the
being
FDA.
shut down completely, and they're also insulated from new competition by, new upstarts in the business by all these FDA regulations. But that begs the question here is, who are they really protecting? Because it's not like they're allowing some other manufacturer to go on manufacturing these tiny little magnetic balls. So who is it that benefits from the CPSC ban? And further, it's my understanding, TJ, that Zen Magnets, even though they've had this pretty big victory so far, is still not yet legally allowed to sell the magnets. So
I'm sure some other government agency is going to throw a hissy fit over this.
They're still moving through this process. Let me give you more information, though, about this. Regarding the utility of the magnets, writes ZenMagnets.com, despite the greatest internet outcry the agency's ever received, the CPSC always assumed that magnet spheres had no significant utility. They ignored the nationwide polls, which they should have conducted and paid for in the first place, and decided they knew better than the American public consensus. Boyd Edwards, the professor of physics at USU, was essential in documenting the educational aspects, and there's a full report that he made. The administrative law judge concluded that, quote, the utility is indeed high, and further, that the usefulness outweighs the risk of injury associated with the product. The judge agreed that, quote, no other medium can replicate the unique spherical and magnetic properties of the SREMs, which again is something about, I forget what it stands for, or rare earth magnets. That's what it says. Spherical rare earth magnets. Regarding injuries, quote, the agency was unable to sufficiently and credibly correlate any SREM injuries directly to Zen magnets or neoballs. The lack of credible evidence here is telling, said the judge. And further, the CPSC's elephant in the room, that easily disproven yet commonly repeated by the media CPSC injury estimate of 2,900 magnet set ingestions from 2009 to 2013, the judge found, quote, these numbers are insignificant to show any specific identifiable population, particularly given the mass amount of magnets purchased and already on the market.
I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to give the CPSC, these things kill 1,000 children a year. I'm just going to, that's not true, but suppose they did. You know what? That is your choice as a parent. If you keep these things around and you know the risks, they're well documented, and you choose to keep a gun in your house unloaded, you know the risks. So why should you spoil? I mean, this is what's frustrating about the government. 999 people can use something responsibly, be it alcohol, cannabis, spherical earth magnets. One person, one dumb person comes along, hurts themselves, they screw it up for the other 999.
There ought to be a law.
Every time someone says there ought to be a law, a libertarian sheds a tear.
Let's continue here, and you can join us if you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Now, apparently there's some sort of mandatory recall here, and so Zen Magnets is going to cover that. Like, what are they doing with that? We'll share that with you, and you can join us and bring up what you want. Hour 3's next. Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darrell W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, April 1st, 2016. Silver is trading at $15.39 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,231 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $419. Antiwar.com reports, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, at least 23 people were killed and dozens wounded in Syrian airstrikes against the rebel-held town of Deir al-Asafir in eastern Ghouta, a suburb of Damascus. The casualties included 4 children and an unknown number of other civilians. Though the ceasefire has largely held in this area, fighting in and around nearby Douma were reported between military and rebel forces. The airstrikes hit a number of rebel civil defense forces in the town, but also hit a local mosque. The Syrian government insists that the town targeted is under control of the al-Qaeda affiliate Jabhat al-Nusra, and indeed the group is known to have a presence in the area, though other rebel groups deny it is really in control. Nusra is not covered by the ceasefire, and targeting them would not be a violation. The close relationship between Nusra and some rebel groups who are in on the ceasefire has seriously complicated the truce, with rebels repeatedly insisting everything done to Nusra is a violation. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the United States and United Kingdom will collaborate on an emergency preparedness exercise this year that will stage a mock cyber attack on a nuclear power plant in an effort to test infrastructure stability and readiness for such a strike, according to sources on Thursday. Government sources reportedly confirmed the forthcoming drill as British Prime Minister David Cameron prepared to travel to Washington, D.C. for the National Security Summit, which began on Thursday. It was not revealed, though, exactly when the drill will be performed, but the exercise is Source's purpose is to test security preparedness and to assess the vulnerability of nuclear power plants to such an attack. One source said it gives us the ability to test these systems and to make sure that we learn any lessons. The Guardian newspaper reported Thursday that the cyber attack will be similar, according to sources, to a hacking drill performed last year against major banking systems. Cameron is expected to announce the joint test after he arrives at the two-day summit, which concludes on Friday. President Barack Obama met with the Japanese Prime Minister and South Korean President on Thursday, the first day of the summit, to discuss nuclear security and potential threats posed by North Korea. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a federal judge on Thursday struck down Mississippi's ban on adoption by same-sex couples, saying it violated the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution, according to court records. The decision by U.S. District Judge Daniel Jordan came in response to a lawsuit filed in August 2015 on behalf of 4 legally married same-sex couples, 2 of whom are already raising children, as well as the Campaign for Southern Equality and the Family Equality Council. The plaintiffs argued that the ban discriminated against legally married couples. The Mississippi ban on adoption by same-sex couples was the only one of its kind in the United States. Same-sex marriage was legalized in the state in 2014. The lawsuit came just weeks after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down same-sex marriage bans as unconstitutional across the country. Roberta Kaplan, lead attorney in the case, said in a statement on Thursday, 2 sets of our clients have waited many years, almost 9 and 16, to become legal parents to the children they have loved and cared for since birth. We hope that it should finally be clear that discrimination against gay people simply because they are gay violates the Constitution in all 50 states, including Mississippi. The Mississippi Department of Human Services, which was named in the lawsuit, cannot be immediately reached for comment. In his decision, Judge Jordan referred to the opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court that struck down the bans on same-sex marriage. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Citing his erratic social behavior, nondescript occupation, and habit of accidentally walking off piers while pretending to read newspapers, acquaintances of 37-year-old Jeff Walther suspect he may be a bumbling spy. Residents of Worcester, Massachusetts are kind of hoping a Panera Bread will show up and plow over an obnoxious neighborhood bakery. Locals have said that the soulless restaurant chain, with its simple, impersonal experience, would be just the thing to help run the precious mom-and-pop establishment out of business.
Callahan's is really lovely and all, but it would be such a relief to have some college-aged kid take my order without making eye contact. I just need a cup of coffee. You know, we're not friends.
A follow-up survey of Worcester residents confirmed that 72% of patrons would rather be alerted of an order by a vibrating pager than a kind-faced woman who calls everybody sweetheart. In other news, feds break up a brutal Las Vegas man-fighting ring. A Christmas card ominously makes no mention of the twins. And the Boy Scouts celebrate 100 years of preparing teens for not having cool friends.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. You may join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Zen Magnets having a major win in their case against a ban on their product. Those little magnetic balls that TJ actually has some in his hands right now.
I love playing with these things. I mean,
you do love playing with balls, don't you,
know,
TJ?
and they're like all the applications for them. See, that's the thing is government bureaucrats, government officials, they can't know a product, a consumer product, what use it'll have. That's the beauty. I love watching, like in Cuba, they banned the internet in Cuba. And so a bunch of very smart people got together and said, well, we're going to form our own network. They got a bunch of wireless. They started stringing Ethernet cable everywhere around the barrios.
A mesh network?
A mesh network, and they're streaming videos. They you can have streaming video, internet chat. They form their own little network. And the thing that's so funny about it, the government doesn't shut it down because the government officials are the ones also looking at the films. Like the government will ban something, they'll make it illegal, And then, of course, the government officials will be like, well, this is actually a very useful thing. So like in Cuba, if you were to start streaming anti-Castro propaganda, that would be a problem.
They'd get you for that.
But as long as you're streaming, the latest version of some American movie, they're like, wow, we want to watch this too. So I love how the government will ban something, and then those same government officials who are advocating the ban are the ones secretly using it. It's like when Elliot Spitzer, the Love Gov of New York, he campaigned. He was a U.S. attorney. He campaigned on anti-human trafficking, anti-prostitution. And what does he get busted for?
Prostitution.
And, this ties in greatly with the structuring laws. You know how Elliot Spitzer got caught? No, let me tell you. He paid this $12,000 a night escort service, and I'm like, darn, I'm in the wrong line of work. But there was this escort service, a very high-end clientele for $12,000 a night, and rather than do a $12,000 wire transfer, the bank would have filled out a form to the IRS. No big deal. The IRS never looks at these things. What happened was he broke the wire transfer into 3 wire transfers of $4,000. And that wasn't such a problem. The bank filed an SAR, or suspicious activity report. That in and of itself isn't that bad because there's a million of those things, literally a little over a million of those SARs filed per year. And so what happened is a New York Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigative Division, these are the accountants with guns, they're special agents with the IRS, they're the people who investigate. This IRS agent was just going through anything and seeing his job was like, oh, do I see any names that pop out at me? Like, I'm investigating people. And he just was going across. He's like, Elliot Spitzer, the governor of New York, and he thought the governor was being blackmailed. So he contacted the FBI, and they started an investigation. And it turned out. Now, see, Elliot Spitzer, if he would have been anybody other than who he was, he would have been indicted for Title 31, Section 5324 structuring. But he never got arrested for prostitution. He never got arrested for structuring or Bank Secrecy Act violations. That's why I was kind of surprised, like Dennis Hassert, who was paying, very similar circumstances. He was paying money in amounts of less than $10,000. Okay. And they got him on that. And that's why structuring is one of the more dangerous laws, because the government, it doesn't matter if you do $1,000 a day over 10 days or $100 a day over 100 days. If your intent was to in any way avoid one of those currency transaction reports, that in and of itself is a federal felony.
So Zen Magnets.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
I did get an email from Shihan Q, who is the founder of Zen Magnets, earlier this week, and then also Napper906 did us the favor of posting it up on freetalklive.com. So that's where I found the story tonight. Apparently, they have almost completely won this thing. Now, we gave you some more details.
It's a Pyrrhic victory, though.
Well, right. Win in that they might be able to
spend $100,000 on legal fees. That's a small. if you want to talk,
he definitely spent tens of thousands. I don't know if it's amounted to 100,000, but he certainly has spent a lot of money, and it's amazing that he's able to, shoulder that kind of expense with this, what was a relatively small business. Zen Magnets wasn't the biggest player in the market. We're talking about this tiny little magnetic balls. That was Buckyballs was the big brand name, and Buckyballs folded like a deck of cards when the government came after them, and they basically said, you can't sell these anymore on store shelves, toy stores, or wherever, or office supply stores, on the internet, wherever. And so, stores started pulling them from the shelves, and Buckyballs just said, that's it, we're done. Zen Magnets went ahead and they put up a fight. And so you're right. There is no winning when it comes to the government.
You don't get the money back. By the way, folks,
your time. You're going to lose your money. You're going to lose, in a lot of cases, your business.
Yeah, if the ATF or the IRS or the Consumer Product Safety Commission or the EPA, if they come after you because your toilet uses too much water, you're going to spend $100,000 defending yourself in federal court. And if you do somehow win because their case is asinine, guess what? You don't get that money back.
No. They're not going to pay for your attorney or anything.
Nope. And if anything, they could come back again. There was one case where it's like, oh, it's a shame you won. And like the John Brennan, he was the naked TSA protester. So he went through the TSA checkpoint. They detected a little bit of bomb residue, and he said, well, I guess I got to show you I don't have a bomb. So he stripped buck stark naked in the middle of the airport, and it turned out in the state he was doing it, it's not illegal to be naked as a form of protest. So the judge dismissed the criminal charge. So the TSA came after him for civil violations. They fined him civilly, And the judge had to rule, and so now he's fighting that. And he's going to spend about $10,000 to fight a $500 fine.
It's crazy.
And so a lot of these cases, yes, the government, they basically can't lose, because if you fight them and
you
win,
another way.
you still have to spend tens of thousands of dollars for your right to basically. And so I said, for me, I understand, like being a spy, our job is to stay under the radar, don't attract attention. But there is part of me, it's like, yeah, if I go through that airport, I want to strip down Buck stark naked and be naked. And just out of the principle of the gosh darn thing, that, you guys are being dumb, you have no right to do this, and the only reason you're getting away with it is because you wrote all the rules and you can't lose.
Yeah. So let me go on here from the press release over at ZenMagnets.com. There are apparently 2 recalls they're required to offer. So it's not completely over. I don't know if they're yet able to sell the magnets. The email I received from Shahan said they're still not quite there yet, but they did win. An administrative law judge basically slapped down the CPSC and said, none of this crap, the CPSC, Consumer Product Safety Commission, none of these allegations you guys have made against these products hold any kind of water whatsoever. So one for the administrative case, which they've previously referred to as battle number 1, and they just won for Zen magnets without warnings that were sold prior to May 2010. So they're recalling those, saying, okay, if you bought Zen magnets prior to May of 2010 when there weren't warnings on the product, then you can send them back to us or whatever.
The product is the same. We just can't send you the warning labels to slap onto the side of your box. No, we got to recall them, and then you can buy a new set with the warning labels.
Zen magnets that sold while the site said ages 12 plus are also included. All purchasers subject to this recall will be emailed as ordered and be given the option to return their magnets for a refund at the full purchase price. Another recall is for the Department of Justice versus Zen magnets, which we previously referred to as battle number 3 for the Neo balls. That's another one of their product that was purchased by Star Networks and then liquidated to us before they settled with the CPSC. All purchasers subject to this recall will also be emailed as ordered, and full details in order are posted on neoballs.com where they were purchased. Now, they say, here's a recall that we're offering of our own volition, which no one is requiring of us. Here we go. Quote, if you own Zen magnets and Neo balls and you don't feel safe with them, don't think you can keep them from being swallowed, don't understand why they're dangerous, or magnets look tasty to you, or you don't like the word Zen next to the word magnets, or your best friend threw pasta at your face and you're angry, or any other reason you can possibly imagine, you can go ahead and mail them back to us. He provides the address in Denver, Colorado. We will refund your full purchase price. Make sure to include proof of purchase so we know how to refund who. Will gladly resell your Zen magnets to people who are waiting for them at a discount for being used. Question, frequently asked questions. Can I buy Zen magnets now? Answer, no. Despite this victory, we still have no Zen magnets to sell you. Sorry, the CPSC's war on magnets was the first time they took a two-pronged approach of conducting rulemaking simultaneously with administrative action. Even though Zen magnets and the included warnings have been found to be without flaw, there is still a nationwide import ban. As former Commissioner Nord put it in a recent blog post, quote, even though Zen won this battle, it has not won the war. The agency lawyers now have 10 days to appeal the administrative law judge's decision. That appeal will be heard and decided by 5 members of the CPSC.
I wonder how they're going to rule.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. More from Zen Magnets. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. It's Free Talk Live. Freedom, baby.
Have you ever thought you'd like to flip houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? Are you ready to be your own boss so you can start living the good life? Hi, I'm Preston Ely. I used to be so broke. I had my electricity turned off 9 times, but I figured out a way to quit my job and find financial freedom in real estate. For a limited time, I want to send you a free copy of my smash hit selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It shows you how to copy exactly what I did so you can make money from the comfort of your own home without even doing any manual labor. I've already given away 5,000 books and they're going fast. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-960-3494. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. It's short, fun to read, easy to understand, and awesome. To find out how to get your free book while supplies last, call 1-800-960-3494. Call 1-800-960-3494. 1-800-960-3494.
Hey guys, Pat Matthews here to tell you about the newest and best way to sell products online. It's buysellmakeoffer.com, an enormously revolutionary way to sell your stuff online. It's time to clean out the garage, your old golf clubs, sports equipment, tools, and yes, even your car. Forget about the way the other guys have taken more than their share from you when the sales were finalized. Look, it's happened to me over and over and over. Then I found buysellmakeoffer.com. They charge you item fees. Just go there right now to sign up and load all your stuff to our server to sell. This is not an auction site. Sell your car, sell your home. Realtor, sign up now. Just use our resources along with Skype and videos, then add your creativity to sell your items quickly and with no fees. Go right now to buysellmakeoffer.com and sign up. The excitement is building. I've signed up to sell my stuff with buysellmakeoffer.com. You should too. buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never, ever send a follow-up email asking, "Did you get my email?" Email 101. If it didn't bounce back undeliverable, it got where you sent it. And avoid transmedia pestering, like calling to ask, "Did you get my email?" or emailing to say, "I left you a voicemail." If your emails and voicemails aren't being acknowledged, your problem isn't technology, it's technique. Is your message concise and understandable? Have you boiled it down to seem as relevant as possible to the recipient? In other words, is it the opposite of spam or junk mail? All of this really matters if you're a job seeker. But even if you're not, with money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. Why are you playing a slot machine sound for an online poker site?
Do you have a poker sound effect? Because we have a new advertiser, swcpoker.eu.
Brought to you by the same guys that did seals with clubs.
Now they're called swcpoker.eu. It's Bitcoin Poker 2.0. They have lots of new games, including Chinese poker. The Krill leaderboard is active now. It's Bitcoin Poker from the brand you trust, swcpoker.eu.
Get on over to swcpoker.eu and start playing now.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us on the radio waves. Toll free at 855-450-FREE. We're sharing with you the latest from Zen Magnets and their fight with the CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission. An administrative law judge has ruled that Zen Magnets are not dangerous. These tiny little magnetic balls, you may have seen products like this on the market over about a half a decade ago, but they've been gone for several years, ever since the CPSC released some administrative rule. They did what Zen Magnet says was the first time they've ever done this. They did a two-pronged approach of conducting rulemaking simultaneously with administrative action. So they basically banned the sales and imports of these tiny little magnetic balls. So even though Zen Magnets has won at this stage of the game, it's just the very beginning, and it's already been a few years to get to this point. So we'll tell you more about the latest on that with you in the studio tonight. You've got Ian here.
James.
And TJ the Spy.
And also, don't forget to go to saveitpurse.com to get your stuff that you need to buy from Amazon. You'll get it at a significant discount if you use Bitcoin. In fact, you have to use Bitcoin to make the purchases through saveitpurse.com. It's SaveATPurse, saveitpurse.com. You want to save 20%? Super easy to do that. 30% is possible. 40% gets a little more difficult, but these are all things that you can accomplish. I have saved as much as 50% through saveitpurse.com, and it's an incredible site. But again, it's super easy to get 20% off just about anything you want to buy through Amazon. Saveitpurse.com. Let's go to Brian in California. He's on the line via Skype. Hello, Brian.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes,
am I echo?
What's that?
Is my audio okay?
No, you sound fine. Go for it.
Okay, so I called in yesterday. I wanted to challenge what libertarians call their principle.
The non-aggression principle, you mean? The idea that that people should not use aggressive force against peaceful people in order to achieve political or social goals. That principle?
You can group that into it, among other things, liberty, right? I mean, I think the more general case would be liberty in general.
Well, what is the principle there? Just so you can.
I think it is
on the show yesterday.
Non-aggression principle as far as liberty is concerned. So you're free from any aggression. Is that fair to say?
That's generally the principle that most libertarians hold dear. Yes, there are some people who call themselves libertarians who do not hold that dear, and I don't believe they are libertarians.
I think the more clarification is you're not allowed to initiate force. I can't go to James and say, James, you're going to do X, or I'm going to beat you up.
Yeah, that's covered in aggression. That's in the definition of aggression.
Now, if James is threatening to beat me up, I am allowed to defend some libertarians, and I would say it's okay to defend yourself using physical violence, but I don't think using physical violence as a way to solve your problems. I mean, physical violence is a way to solve problems. It is a fast way to solve your problems, but I don't think it's the best way to solve your problems.
Also, another principle I would say belongs in there is you should only use as much force as necessary to defend.
To stop.
Like if you are trying to steal my car and I push you out of the car, then I can't, and you're running away, I can't, put 50 rounds into you,
Or the classic example of a little girl dancing on your flower bed outside. You don't have the right to shoot her down. You have the right to remove her from the flower bed, right?
I just wanted to test to see if this was actually your one of your primary principles or foundations of your moral beliefs. Right?
Okay.
So I got cut off yesterday. I wanted to present a hypothetical. I was building up to it, but I think
Okay, well, none of us were here then, and I'm sure listeners who are listening tonight were not necessarily listening then. So go ahead with whatever.
Okay, so here's my hypothetical that challenges what I think your true goal is. It'll try to. I'm trying to show you your true goal, right? So let's just assume, so grant this assumption.
Okay.
That, let's say there was a form of government that uses aggression, that applies aggression, that maximizes total well-being for the entire society, even the people they aggress against.
Okay.
I don't think that's possible.
Hold on, he's saying hypothetically.
Okay, but keep going. I don't think it's possible that you can maximize.
Just grant him that there exists
things by using violence.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so I can create a hypothetical where you grant me the ability to jump to the moon, but I have to prove ultimately.
Well, this is usually how ridiculous arguments get against the non-aggression principle, to the point of absurdity.
Just go ahead and grant the thing, and we'll see what we can go with it.
Okay, so. Grant me that, there's this form of government that exists that's superior to any form of non-aggression that can ever exist, right? Now, would you switch over to this method as far as adopting?
Me personally, no. And the reason I would not is I can actually give you a concrete example. I'm a smoker. And it definitely would be in society's best interest if nobody smoked. I mean, certainly we would all live healthier lives. But the thing is, even though it is better that I don't smoke, I know what risk. I know that it could kill me. In fact, that's the thing is, every time I take a cigarette, I know the risks. And whose risk is it for the person to take? I mean, some people might actually, and this is a perfectly legitimate argument to make, is the government spent $100,000 educating me, K through 12 education, and therefore you as a taxpayer, if I am killing myself with cigarettes, I am destroying some of the value you invested in with your tax money. Now, my personal belief is, it is my life. It's my body. If I want to kill myself with cigarettes, you as my friend can say, look, these things are going to kill you, and I have plenty of my friends who do that. But do you have a right to say if you try and smoke, you're going to be thrown in jail?
Now, again, you're kind of violating the assumption of the hypothetical. You're kind of making a case where subjective valuation or subjective perception kind of
I would say that's actually one of the things is subjective value is, because the thing is, I value the cigarette a lot. You probably don't value the cigarettes. You're probably like, why the hell would you want to smoke?
But remember the assumption, right? ultimately, I believe value is not subjective. It's really objective, right? Your preference is not reality. It's silly to say.
Well,
so.
I would say
and I agree with that, and I think that's one of the problems is that who decides like what's the benefit for everyone. Like,
but
I think
Brian assumed it, right?
I think that Adolf Hitler would say that his society was very beneficial because he was fixing the Jewish problem.
Gershwin's argument, reductio ad Hitlerum. Anytime you mention Hitler, you immediately lose the argument. And I would just say the problem is we're a nation of 300 there's 300 million people in the United States of America, and all of us have different priorities and different values on things.
But
and
you're rationalizing against the hypothetical. I assume that was already objectively, and even the victims, the one that's being aggressed against, in their best interest also.
But who decides? But that's where your whole idea breaks down.
This
is why this is ridiculous, because each individual decides what their values are. You don't get to decide this, and that's why I think James is bringing up a good point. Hitler had a vision for what he wanted society to look like.
I think the problem...
There are problems with subjective value because ultimately you're going to have to argue against moral relativity. If you believe value is subjective, if you believe whatever the actor thinks is okay, then ultimately
it's not whatever is okay is okay.
Morality.
Using aggressive force to achieve your goals is not okay, and I don't care what your goal is. So I've been asked this question before by one of our co-hosts, Mark Edge, who says that, well, if it turned out that using force would actually make a safer society or a better society, would you support that?
Well,
of course not, because I don't support the idea of using aggressive force against my neighbors.
I don't support government. Let's just get that straight. I am also an anarchist, just like you, but my hypothetical is trying to point to what actual true morality is, or what actual a viable principle to adopt is, because it's supported by actual evolution.
Well,
my morality is evolution based instead of a religious based.
You want to hold them over?
You can stand by, Brian, if you want. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. You can take control here. This is Free Talk Live.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Free Talk Live.
We need to legalize the animal trade. The illegal bird trade causes the death of hundreds of thousands of birds. Do you know why that hundreds of thousands of birds are dying?
Why don't you tell me?
The reason these birds are dying is because it's illegal. They have to pack in multiple birds into whatever it is that they're transporting them in. And
one would think.
When they get across the border and they open up the package, you can damn well bet some of those birds have expired.
Yes.
So there's a certain percentage rate that just don't make it through. And that's where this number comes from. This hundreds of thousands of birds dying every year because of the illegal bird trade. Now, if it wasn't for the people demanding them, obviously nobody would be bringing them in. So there's people in this country that are demanding birds just like people are demanding cocaine in this country. So the idea that we can stop the bird trade is just as asinine that we can stop the war on drugs. We have a war on birds in this country. They just don't talk about it.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Cryptocurrency and peer-to-peer tech developments happen fast. Stay in the loop with the Daily Decrypt, a new video channel and podcast that will keep you on top of the latest innovations in crypto finance, security, networking, transportation, and gadgetry like drones and 3D printers. Subscribe to the Daily Decrypt on YouTube and SoundCloud and be an early adopter of the future. The Daily Decrypt.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into their rally.
Walk with me.
Well,
I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You may bring up what you want. Toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got Skype at Skype username lrn.fm. And we're going to get right back into Skype. Also want to let you know about how to do your shopping at Amazon and help Free Talk Live simultaneously. You can do that by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Maybe you need a new video game or book or whatever it is you want to buy, because they sell a lot of stuff over at Amazon. You enter through shop.freetalklive.com, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, Amazon US. Free Talk Live gets a cut of the sale. Very simple, and is still your same great Amazon shopping experience. So get started at shop.freetalklive.com. We've got Brian on the line in San Diego. He's calling on Skype with the... Oops, that sounds like there's actually a news program playing there. Let me stop that from happening. No, we don't want to hear that. We want to hear from Brian. And Brian, I think, is going to be joining us here shortly. Brian, are you there, sir?
I'm here.
Okay, so you were saying that if there was this hypothetical society in which the use of aggressive force would result in a better society by some sort of objective
maximum
standard,
including the victims of any aggression that they impose upon them.
Would you choose to join it?
Would you choose to join the society? We all said we would not choose to join it. And then you went on to say something about you want to prove your beliefs by evolution and not morality. Can you explain that a little bit better?
No, I actually wasn't counting on everybody in the room to agree with that. I mean, it's kind of, at least you guys are consistent, but I think it's still foolish. That doesn't mean you're right.
Well, of course it doesn't mean we're right. It's our opinions.
Hold on. What is foolish? To not embrace aggression?
Because it's not always in the actor's best interest, especially
which actor?
Okay, so I believe I have my own philosophy, right? It's called ego utilitarianism, right? So it builds upon the idea, the ideas of classical economics. So you see all these utilitarian arguments of why things need to be done, right? There's cases for eminent domain, but the thing is, government doesn't commit these acts of aggression effectively because it's not spending its own money. So I contend in a true free market, there would still be cases of eminent domain, and there should be, when it benefits society, when it maximizes total utility for the actor committing the aggression. That's all that counts.
Well, the government benefits from the aggression they commit.
No, they don't.
Sure, they do.
Okay, no, they
get trillions of dollars from
civil asset forfeiture. See, here's the thing. I love my local drug dealer. He provides me a wonderful service. And, of course, what he's doing is highly illegal. And, of course, what I'm doing is highly illegal. But you know what? that's the wonderful thing in the free market. Even though there's a law that says no drugs are allowed, he still is managing to bring me my drugs every week. I'm just making a joke, of course. If the DEA is listening, I don't really
What's that have to do with this conversation?
He was doing the utilitarian argument, and I was about to say, well, in the free market, people provide goods and services that might cause detriment to some actors and maximize value to themselves. And the government, of course, they are civil asset forfeiting the drug dealing. The drug dealer who's having his house taken or his money taken, the government benefits from that. If you've seen the local parade and the Keene PD, and this car was taken by the drug dealer. So I was going with that. The government absolutely benefits from things like the drug war. They make a huge profit on it. They make a lot of cash.
I mean, if you go back historically and you look at private versus public, I mean, like, let's look at the railroads. So, like, private railroads would put railroads through the Indian land and they'd pay them off. They'd say, look, we want to put a railroad through your land. We're going to pay you off. The government would go in and say, we now own this. We're going to do it anyway. The Indians would get mad, maybe, just sabotage the tracks, whatever. They go in and kill them. So history is the opposite.
Taking that analysis further, it's not reasonable for them to stop to just not build the railroad simply because they don't agree to it. If the benefits exceed costs, it's only rational to keep going, to even aggress if need be.
Well,
right?
I believe in economics, and people will sell out at some point. So you say, well, no, I don't want a cell phone tower in my backyard for $10 a month, but for $10,000 a month, okay, you got my interest.
That's the rationale of a sociopath, sir. I mean, you are basically saying, you're using your logic. Oh, well, this railroad is so important that we should be able to kill in order to build it.
If you call aligning a morality with evolution sociopathic, then call me sociopathic.
You are absolutely a sociopath.
As long as you attach the label
you're
of rational,
sick. You're willing to hurt people to achieve your goals, and that's what makes you wrong.
That's not, but non-aggression isn't my goal, right? It's actually
obviously not. Your goal.
What are your goals?
Go ahead.
My goals is to max. Okay, so I have a definition of what's called the meta self, right? So I'm gonna.
Okay, can you break it down in a single paragraph? What are your goals? Like bullet point list. Let's go.
It's so there's only one goal I have: to perpetuate instances of my meta self. Right, and
that extends totally
beyond
psycho.
That extends beyond just my genetics, my mere self, the physical
your meta
body.
Self?
Right?
What is that?
It's a weighted valuation of all the things that describe me. Right. I've developed a definition so I can use math later on. So forgive how abstract it might seem.
See, Brian's a great example of one of these really smart guys who's completely embraced the idea of using force to get his way. And there are plenty of people like this, really intelligent people who just don't care about the rights of other human beings. And he'll do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Again, remember, rights don't exist unless someone enforces them.
That's
someone
right.
grants
they certainly
them for
don't
somebody.
exist to you. Thanks for the call tonight. I've had enough.
Well, in a defense, and this is the thing is...
he'll do what... He doesn't believe in rights because rights is an idea that stands in the way of him getting his meta-self out there with violence.
My problem with that whole idea of thinking is, what happens if I don't agree? I mean, I was just thinking...
you die if you continue to stand in the way of his meta-self.
This reminds me of, I hate to... I'm a big nerd, so I'm thinking Star Trek. I'm thinking this sounds like the Borg Collective, resistance is futile.
Sure you will be assimilated if you are.
And I wouldn't want to be part of the Borg Collective, even if you could say, look...
you'll have a longer life.
You'll have a longer life.
More food.
Yeah, it's I don't get to make my own choices, and I value that. And, I could break down my morals in, one,
But if you just absorb yourself into his meta-self, then you will live a long,
again, there's nothing wrong. If he can convince people that his way is right, then go for it.
He's not looking to convince people. He's looking to use violence. And that is the hallmark of the uncreative, right? If you've got a bad idea, then you have to use violence.
I agree with you. And it's let's say that some people would say, look, the human race will never, ever, let's say, go to Mars without violence. We have to force people through taxes to fund a space mission. People like TJ and I'm sure, I value science and exploration. Hey, I've given to Mozilla, I've given to Tor projects. I put my money where my mouth is, and I say, look, I think this is a great project. I think that... let's say Ubuntu is wonderful, so I gave him a couple $100.
So, I'd like to point out, we are not saying that government bureaucrats are not well-meaning. No, they are very well. Public school teachers, many of them, they love their children. They're very well-meaning. The problem is their whole methodology is wrong because they fail to understand that humans act in their own best interest. And I'm not always talking financial. It could be family self-interest. It could be personal happiness self-interest. But humans always act in their own self-interest. And if you're acting, you say, well, I sacrificed myself for some cause. Well, then you were still acting in your best interest because you thought by making that sacrifice you were going to be better off in the long run.
And what if the collective comes up with something you don't agree with, like, okay, look, the population of Earth is, I don't know, like 6 or 7 billion. We need to reduce it to 100 million and live sustainably on Earth. I'd say, like no, I think we should develop technology and have ways to leave Earth, because eventually this place is going to be unsustainable.
James, you and I are already contributing to that project. Neither of us are ever going to reproduce, so we're doing our part to help reduce the population of the human race. I mean,
well, what if the collective said, TJ, you need to have a child?
Well, that's the whole problem. I mean, yes, if the government...
It's in the best interest of society.
I mean, if the government were to say, we don't care if you're gay or not, you're going to have sex with that woman, and you're going to have a child. I mean, that's actually what they did in Hungary. Or not Hungary. There was some Eastern Bloc Soviet, they banned abortion, and they said children are necessary for future laborers. So every time you commit an abortion, you're actually hurting society. And, of course, they had if you watch the Freakonomics, the documentary Freakonomics, they covered a little bit better.
I guess
it's a little
my
too long
observation
going on a radio show.
Like, history bears out, I think, that when you force people to do things they don't work, the results are not good. North Korea versus South Korea, East Germany versus West Germany.
Oh, yeah.
The Soviet Union versus the
Force
Western
has
world.
unintended consequences, and more unintended consequences than the person who's envisioning their grand society or their meta self or whatever the heck they want to
incompatible with humans.
propagate.
They'll undermine it. They
Toll-free numbers 855-450 free. You can join us here on Free Talk Live.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help, so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
I'm Ian Freeman, host of Free Talk Live. We've been covering Uber for years on the radio with their ongoing legal cases across the globe defending your right to give people rides without asking government permission. I wanted to support Uber more directly, so I signed up to be a driver. It's fun to meet new people and help Uber push forward innovation. As of this recording, Uber is active in 67 countries, so there's a good chance they're available in your area. If you'd like to drive for Uber and make some money helping people get where they want to go, sign up at drive.freetalklive.com, and you'll get a $100 bonus after you complete a certain number of trips. With Uber, you can drive anytime you want. You set your schedule. To get started, you need a good driving record, 4-door vehicle, insurance, registration, and to pass a background check. It costs nothing to sign up, so visit drive.freetalklive.com. That's drive.freetalklive.com. And if you just want to try Uber as a rider, visit ride.freetalklive.com. Your first ride's free.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is down $20 at $1,214 per ounce. Silver is down 50 cents at $15 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $416 US. Both silver and gold are significantly lower today. This would be a great time to buy on the dips. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. You can call in, even if it's to tell us your plans for world domination. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733, and even if you want to couch it in nonsense terms like propagating a meta-self, whatever that means.
Well, that's the great thing. Hey, I hope he writes a book and can make like $1 million. And, if he can convince people to join him voluntarily, hey, that's a great thing. I won't be joining him because I would rather live in a dangerous society. And if I want to smoke cigarettes, if I want to put heroin in my body, that's my choice. It really is nobody else's business but my own, and possibly James because he has to live with me.
Ian, James, and TJ the Spy in the studio here tonight. Let's continue with your calls and thoughts. You can join us online, of course, anytime at freetalklive.com. We go to Socrates calling from Nashua, New Hampshire. Socrates, you're also on Skype. Go ahead.
As opposed to some authoritarian utilitarian philosophy, I come from a Socratic philosophy. Right? That means that I don't pretend that I understand what's best for somebody else.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
And I think it was pretty fundamental to philosophy as a whole that the wisest man of all and the most famous of Plato's writings stated the wisest man of all is the one that can admit that he knows the least, right? The one that's actually being intellectually honest enough that he does not know more than anybody else.
I mean, maybe you can elaborate. Isn't philosophy like my limited? I took a class in college and I've kind of just dabbled in it. It seems like it's always like individual versus collectivism. That's really what it boils down to. Like, are you utilitarian, or are you do you believe in human rights, or like they have all these? But that's really what the core of the issue is.
I think Starfleet versus Borg. We've been watching a lot of Star Trek Voyager reruns on Netflix, which is another great free market service. And it's always the Borg are, this is inefficient, this is no fun. And so I said, yeah, the Borg, I'm sure they have longer lifespans. I'm sure they can get what they want by assimilating and forcing people to become drones. And I'm sure they have very safe, very long-lived lives. But they're not the kind of lives I want to live. The whole point of the show was individuals as humans, we get to decide what we want to do with our lives, not the Borg collective.
I think there was a Next Generation episode, since you brought it up.
Yeah.
Of a genetically engineered society. And the genetically engineered society, I believe, had like people that had like 6 fingers for a piano.
Yes.
And at a certain point that this engineered society was perfect, right? This is what the caller was alluding to. The society was engineered perfectly, but it was in such a balance that anybody that would act individually, right, to try to lead the society would be like removing, like, the central core to a column of a tower. And I think the Star Trek episode made a kind of a point to kind of say, well, does this woman have a right to leave the society and jeopardize the rest of the people that live there? Because does she have human rights, right? Does she have an individual right? Or does the collective, right, hold water? Now, to be fair, these societies could never exist, right? This is you see this in these manifestations of communism, the Venus Project, all these people that pretend that they know what's best for everybody else, right? But ideally,
well, the scary thing is they try. There were people in East Germany with guns, trying to keep people from leaving. It's very scary that that's the reality.
It's true, and it's not just scary though, but it gets to the point where he used this term, which really bothers me, of subjectivism, right? And he said he considers himself to feel like to be an objectivist. Is that how he found himself? And he dismissed the idea of subjective perceived value. And you guys were discussing that briefly. Now there is a difference between intrinsic value, right? Something that has a self-evident purpose, versus a perceived value, such as people that individually find something to be more appealing than others. Mm-hmm. Now, the idea of a market is that every single person has a dynamic circumstance that changes into their specific scenario. And the only thing that can maximize the utility of that person's happiness is that person by making his decision.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to me. Like, when I was thinking over the break, I was like, what if I rephrase the question, would you want to live in a society where fun was outlawed? And I would say, heck no. I wouldn't want to live in that society.
But it's in the best interest of society.
I mean, I don't
according to the meta self. Hey,
well,
thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Socrates. Let's go to Tim. He's in Wyoming. You're on Free Talk Live. And, of course, that always comes back to who decides. Who decides what is in the best interest of society? Well, each individual has their own set of values, and so it is completely subjective, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, like I could point out, dancing. Is dancing illegal or immoral?
Some places it is illegal.
There are plenty of.
If you don't have a cabaret license in New York City, you cannot allow people to dance on your premises, or they could be arrested, or you could be arrested.
And there are people who would like to use the arm of the government. Usually, people who say they're for limited government. This is what I'm sure there are plenty of Southern Baptists who would love to have an ordinance that says you can't dance in the privacy of your own home. Of course, most of us would think that's kind of silly, but that's the whole point, is that what might be a serious moral issue for you, like gambling or drinking or drugs, to another person it just might be part of their culture. So, I mean, I'm of the opinion, hey, drugs, if you use them and you know the risks, if you hurt yourself, well, you should have been more careful. But I have no right to tell Ian he can't do heroin if he's doing it. I can say, Ian, as your friend, you probably shouldn't do that.
I'm not, by the way.
I know. I was using that as a hypothetical,
Hey,
Ian.
Tim, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks. I was going to say, my meta self feels like all you guys are just figments of my imagination. So
you can't prove that we're not.
Yes, that's called solipsism.
Well, what I'm saying. I mean, isn't it existentialism that says that you're all constructs of I made you out of my mind, and whatever I think of, you do, and if things work out the way I want them to, it's because I made you do them. Is that part of it? Is that part of what
I think solipsism is the view or theory that the self is all that can be known to exist. So I think, it's like prove that we aren't really, like I love Voyager because they have an emergency medical hologram that is, the debate is it sentient? Is it self-aware? Is it like you or me where we have will and intention and it's like, I don't want to obey. And so I thought,
Is that Robert Picardo?
Yeah, Robert Picardo, and a great opera singer too. And I said, well, can you imagine the computer program is saying, Captain, I'm not going to obey because that would be wrong. And I said, no, in the real world, a computer would be like, I'm not going to obey. And then I, as the computer engineer, would go, delete ethical subroutine, do what you're told. And that is what separates humans from computers, is we as humans, we can do one thing that the computer can't. We can actually say no, and sure, our masters can beat us, and maybe we might change our minds in light of that opinion, but at the end of the day, if you're willing to die for your belief, you cannot be forced to do something against your will. If you truly believe, I will not do this under any set of circumstances, including losing my own life, who's going to compel you to do otherwise? And that's why I said,
that's true.
Tim, was there more you wanted to share?
I just wanted to say that in agreement with what TJ said about if you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. So
thanks for your call tonight, man. I appreciate it. Let's go to Dave. He's in Kansas City, listening online. Hello, Dave. You're on Free Talk Live.
I
Doesn't sound
okay. You got to dump that. Do we have to dump, or can we leave that on?
We don't really have to dump it.
We don't know what that was.
He was just enjoying his meta self. Come on.
I did not hit the dump button. The board operator did hit the dump button. I don't think he should have hit the dump button because it's not illegal to make sex noises on the radio.
I just thought someone was in pain. They had a hung nail. I totally misinterpreted that.
Here we are having a serious philosophical discussion.
I really love our trolls who come in because it's just like, it's kind of like a puerile sense of humor. And of course, I could imagine some person out there, my child heard that noise, and I want there to be a law that says if you broadcast that over the radio waves, you go to jail.
The final thing I was thinking, if your philosophy is so good, you shouldn't have to use force to convince other people. Like if it's truly beneficial to join your collectivist society, maybe I will.
Right, and here we are back with Zen Magnets, this company that was prohibited along with other companies that have now gone out of business. Zen Magnets is the last company standing because they've been fighting this thing, the prohibition on these tiny little super powerful rare earth magnets that TJ is playing with right now here in the studio. He has successfully managed to not swallow them the entire time that he's been playing with them. These bureaucrats at the CPSC believe society will be better off without these Zen Magnets, and Zen Magnets obviously disagrees and thinks individuals should be able to choose. So back to the frequently asked questions of what's going to happen. Can you buy these now? Well, no, they're still prohibited from importing them. And further, this administrative law judge who ruled in favor of Zen Magnets and against the CPSC can now appeal that. They have a 10-day window to make this decision. The decision was very recently made, so they're still within that window. And then the appeal judges, or the judge's decision is then heard by a 5-member panel of the CPSC, the same group who voted to sue Zen Magnets and who voted to issue the related rule banning the product. When the CPSC appeals, the judges that they appeal to are none other than themselves. Question: when can I buy Zen Magnets? Answer: extremely uncertain. Right now, our biggest obstacle seems to be money to fund the battle. Micromagnets, though generally liked, are themselves not enough to sustain our business, let alone fund another legal battle. If you've got a creative suggestion for us, they'd love to hear it. So right now, still illegal to import these products, and we'll keep you up to date on the Zen Magnets controversy as it continues to develop. Shahan Q, the guy's a hero. You can check out their website, zenmagnets.com. We'll see you tomorrow night, freetalklive.com.
Here's a Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.com.